All right, it's day 53 and it's daytime. So, I got energy today. I got a lot of stuff to do today. However, I feel good because we are on stream. I'm having a real stream today, not like a quickie. Um and I'm actually behind on my Gen AI material. I was trying to start the stream at like 10:30, and really I was trying to start it at 11 because I don't know how long the session was that I missed on Tuesday. Thank you, baby. Okay. Don't pull my headphones. Thank you. All right. So I don't know how long the session was that I missed on Tuesday. Probably more than an hour. So I'm about to just hop into that ASAP because the new session, the session for today starts at 12. So, yeah. Miss Steiner, good morning. How's it going? Happy Thursday. I was able to take my butt to bed last night and it was so great. Like I needed that. Cuz we was hardcore socializing last night. I'm hungry too, so I'm going to figure out what I'm about to eat. Oh, this is model evaluation. Okay. Today is Duet AI. So I'm looking forward to that, but let's. I had to fix the audio. Hold on. Oh, I'm hungry. It just kicked in. Yeah, I was knocked out. Look, okay. Seriously. We had so demo day was like we got there. It started officially at 5. We got there, me, my sister, and the baby. We got there around probably 4:20, 4:30 ish. Definitely before 4:30. We didn't leave until I don't even know what time we left. We were the last people out the building. And then we ended up going out for dinner right after also. So that's why when I got home it was what, pushing 11 o'clock. Um yeah, I needed some rest. Okay, so let me check this now. My speakers are here. Let me turn the volume like low. It's still loud. Okay. So yeah, it was good though. It was a good session. So I hope you had a good day. How's your week going, Miss Signer? I feel like it's supposed to be Friday or Saturday, but it's not. But I'm also grateful it's not because I do still got some stuff I gotta do. Um, we gonna skip the logistics.
Very quick housekeeping slides. I badges from Google Cloud on the back end that as we finish here today, you'll be able to come back and rewatch the class. And the same goes for all the previous classes that we've had
Okay,
over the
credits
last
have to be
5 weeks.
redeemed.
We won't be sharing slides, unfortunately, but you are able to do the quick labs on Skills
Okay.
Boost. And of course, you can, as soon as
So yeah,
possible.
it's still
One,
another
thank you
day
for joining.
left to redeem those credits that they give you for this program. I highly recommend it, even if you want to use the credits on something else related to Cloud Skills Boost. They have some really good material. They gave us 200 credits, I think. Technically, they gave us 209.
Thank you so much, Luisa, for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. And hey,
Back
everyone.
is feeling
Thank you for
better
joining a new
and
session of the
catching up on
Startup
work.
School.
Yeah.
Today, we will discuss how to scale evaluation for Gen AI models on Google Cloud. Before we begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Esra Duygun, and I am a technical curriculum developer at Google Cloud. In this role, I am deeply engaged in designing and developing comprehensive courses for various machine learning products across different platforms. This experience has provided me with strong foundation in understanding customer needs and
I
tailoring
don't know what
technical
this boy is
solutions
doing.
to
He
address
just
these
keep
challenges.
bringing me random stuff.
Before we start, I would like to thank to my colleague Ivan for his collaboration on everything because everything that I'm going to cover today was collaboratively developed by him. Thank you for that. And another thing that I would like to cover before I start, I would like to clarify that we will be using the terms generative AI and large language models, or LLM in short, interchangeably. While both terms describe AI models capable of
I be having
generating
this.
human like text
I be
based
having
on
my
input
heating pad
prompt,
hooked up, and then I have a heated blanket hooked up also, and like, so Justice is obsessed with just coming in here and um, randomly like clicking the button, constantly pressing the button, and I'm like, bro, I'm trying. Like, look, can you leave my heating pad on the right setting? If you don't mind, if you just, just if you don't mind. Let me see. Oh, I hope this is the person I'm looking for. Friend request.
prompts, I believe it's worth noting that they are not exactly the same. Generative AI encompasses a broader range of models that can generate various types of content
You
beyond
gotta.
just text,
You need a
while
diaper
LLM
that fast.
specifically refers to subset of generative AI models that focus on only text.
All right, so you
However,
officially
for the
spilled
purpose
something
of
on my
our
bed.
discussion today, we will be using these terms synonymously to keep things simple and focused. But I just wanted to let you know in case you might confuse. Now let's take a closer look at our agenda. In this session, we will begin with a quick introduction to evaluating generative AI,
I'm gonna
or
do
in short,
this.
GenAI.
Where is it?
Next, we will
Settings,
explore how Google Cloud and Vertex
index
AI can
B,
assist you in evaluating your own large language models.
quality.
We will explore two distinct evaluation approaches, automatic metrics and auto side by side today. Finally, we will have our Q&A and key takeaway session at the end. By the end of this session, you will understand how to seamlessly integrate model evaluation into the process of productionizing generative
I
AI
put it on
applications within your own
1.25
startup.
speed.
With that, let's talk about the process of evaluating Gen AI. To do that, let's assume that as a member of an AI team at prominent media company, you are actively involved in a cutting-edge project called Between the Lines. The objective of this project is to utilize LLMs to generate headlines for each article on your website, with the ultimate goal of enhancing your customer experience. To ensure the success of this project, your team has to assess various large language models to determine the most suitable one, which is capable of handling summarization tasks with efficiency and accuracy. Evaluating generative AI models may seem similar to evaluating predictive models at first glance. First, you establish objectives, then select evaluation techniques, gather datasets, and then analyze and interpret results. However, evaluating generative models are more complicated. Evaluating LLMs presents various challenges due to their complexity, scale, and the wide range of tasks they can handle. We see a number of challenges, both in our internal teams and also with customer teams. Firstly, evaluating generative tasks is inherently complex because
My
it's
ear
nearly
hurts.
impossible
Oh
to
my
encapsulate
gosh.
the quality of good generative task within a single metric. Consider our scenario of summarization in this
Stop.
media company.
Let me
Subjective
help
evaluation
you.
complicates performance assessment in a singular dimension.
All right, let me go get this boy
Also,
together
it's
because I don't
challenging
even
to
understand
navigate
what's
through the
happening right
various
now.
evaluation methods in this field. The frequent emergence of new methods creates uncertainty regarding established practices.
I'm gonna have to run
Additionally,
this back.
determining the criteria for
No.
a quality dataset presents a challenge. In predictive models, dealing with large datasets is common, but for generative models, it's unclear what size and quality of dataset are best. Finally, understanding the results of evaluation methods and assessing their reliability is a big challenge. Let's back to our scenario. Suppose you have at least two models to evaluate, more than 1,000 more than 1,000 per article per day, and at least two metrics to consider. Given these settings, you can easily imagine the challenges you may encounter. First of all, you need to build a common model eval framework, which is able to handle outputs of both models. This is equivalent to scalability challenge. Then, the eval framework needs to calculate evaluation metrics over a significant amount of data. This is validation challenge. Finally, you would like to have a reusable framework which is able to calculate at least two metrics required with minimal effort. This is equivalent to standardization challenge. At this point, you may wonder, how can Google Cloud help me evaluate LLMs? Let's see how you can evaluate your GenAI applications on Vertex AI. At this point of the school program, after 6 weeks, you should understand that Vertex AI offers everything necessary to evaluate the entire life cycle, both predictive and generative AI models. Vertex AI indeed provides a unified interface for AI development to kickstart projects across various tasks and modalities. For example, with Vertex AI, you can prototype, customize, evaluate, extend, and even deploy both predictive and generative models in your application. To address model evaluation challenges we mentioned earlier, we are introducing GenAI evaluation services. These services offer a range of evaluation targets, methods, and access to numerous metrics. They are designed to streamline and enrich the evaluation process for generative AI models. Today, I am going to focus on two of them. First, automatic metrics and auto side-by-side. Exploring safety bias is beyond the scope of today's session, but let us know if you would like to learn more about it. Automatic metrics offer a standardized metric-based evaluation approach, similar to those commonly encountered in academic area and industry benchmarking. It enables swift and effective assessment of model performance. For example, in tasks like summarization, we employ Rouge metrics to quantify the similarity between the reference text and the generated output. And auto side-by-side is a unique technique pioneered by Google Research. It mimics human evaluation, but with greater speed and efficiency. This method facilitates model comparison using a third-party arbiter model. What's really exciting is this arbiter model, provides explanations for its decisions. So let's dive into automatic metrics and auto side-by-side. Let's start with automatic metrics. With automatic metrics, you can measure how well your models are doing by looking at different measurements that are specific to the task that you are working on. These metrics help you evaluate your models quickly and effectively. The automatic metric service evaluates model results based on input prompt and output response pairs only. As I mentioned earlier, this methodology is in line with academic research and open benchmarks, employing several widely used metrics for various general AI tasks. In this slide, you are going to see both supported models and tasks.
All right, having
About
kids is
supported
awesome,
models,
but
at the
geez.
moment, automatic metrics supports a based and tuned version of Vertex AI Palm Text Bison. About the supported tasks, as you can see from the slide, for each of the main comprehension LLM capabilities, we have at least one metric. In our use case scenario, for the summarization task to generate headlines for articles on your website, the service provides Rouge L, which helps quantify how well the summary captures the essence of the article. This metric does this by looking for the longest sequence of matching words between the
All
summary
right, my
and the
bad. I gotta
article.
run this back though.
We will be using these terms. The objective of this project is to utilize LLMs to generate headlines for each article on your website, with the ultimate goal of enhancing your customer experience. To ensure the success of this project, your team has to assess various large language models to determine the most suitable one, which is capable of handling summarization tasks with efficiency and accuracy. Evaluating generative AI models may seem similar to evaluating predictive models at first glance. First, you establish objectives, then select evaluation techniques, gather datasets, and then analyze and interpret results. However, evaluating generative models are more complicated. Evaluating LLMs presents various challenges due to their complexity, scale, and the wide range of tasks they can handle. We see a number of challenges, both in our internal teams and also with customer teams. Firstly, evaluating generative tasks is inherently complex because it's nearly impossible to encapsulate the quality of good generative tasks within a single metric. Consider our scenario of summarization in this media company. Subjective evaluation complicates performance assessment in a singular dimension. Also, it's challenging to navigate through the various evaluation methods in this field. The frequent emergence of new methods creates uncertainty regarding established practices. Additionally, determining the criteria for a quality dataset presents a challenge. In predictive models, dealing with large datasets is common. But for generative models, it's unclear what size and quality of dataset are best. Finally, understanding the results of evaluation methods and assessing their reliability is a big challenge. Let's back to our scenario. Suppose you have at least two models to evaluate, more than 1,000 more than 1,000 per article per day, and at least two metrics to consider. Given these settings, you can easily imagine the challenges you may encounter. First of all, you need to build a common model eval framework, which is able to handle outputs of both models. This is equivalent to scalability challenge. Then, the eval framework needs to calculate evaluation metrics over a significant amount of data. This is validation challenge. Finally, you would like to have a reusable framework which is able to calculate at least two metrics required with minimal effort. This is equivalent to standardization challenge. At this point, you may wonder, how can Google Cloud help me evaluate LLMs? Let's see how you can evaluate your GenAI applications on Vertex AI. At this point of the school program, after 6 weeks, you should understand that Vertex AI offers everything necessary to evaluate the entire lifecycle, both predictive and generative AI models. Vertex AI indeed provides a unified interface for AI development to kickstart projects across various tasks and modalities. For example, with Vertex AI, you can prototype, customize, evaluate, extend, and even deploy both predictive and generative models in your application. To address model evaluation challenges we mentioned earlier, we are introducing GenAI evaluation services. These services offer a range of evaluation targets, methods, and access to numerous metrics. They are designed to streamline and enrich the evaluation process for generative AI models. Today, I am going to focus on two of them. First, automatic metrics and auto side-by-side. Exploring safety bias is beyond the scope of today's session, but let us know if you would like to learn more about it. Automatic metrics offer a standardized metric-based evaluation approach, similar to those commonly encountered in academic area and industry benchmarking. It enables swift and effective assessment of model performance. For example, in tasks like summarization, we employ Rouge metrics to quantify the similarity between the reference text and the generated output. And auto side-by-side is a unique technique pioneered by Google Research. It mimics human evaluation, but with greater speed and efficiency. This method facilitates model comparison using a third-party arbiter model. What's really exciting is this model, this arbiter model, provides explanations for its decisions. So let's dive into automatic metrics and auto side-by-side. Let's start with automatic metrics. With automatic metrics, you can measure how well your models are doing by looking at different measurements that are specific to the task that you are working on. These metrics help you evaluate your models quickly and effectively. The automatic metric service evaluates model results based on input prompt and output response pairs only. As I mentioned earlier, this methodology is in line with academic research and open benchmarks, employing several widely used metrics for various general AI tasks. In this slide, you are going to see both supported models and tasks. About supported models, at the moment, automatic metrics supports a based and tuned version of Vertex AI Palm Text Prism. About the supported tasks, as you can see from the slide, for each of the main comprehension LLM capabilities, we have at least one metric. In our use case scenario, for the summarization task to generate headlines for articles on your website, the service provides Rouge L, which helps quantify how well the summary captures the essence of the article. This metric does this by looking for the longest sequence of matching words between the summary and the article. Now I'm going to mention how to use automatic metrics. It's actually quite straightforward. First, you need to prepare the model evaluation dataset with prompt and ground truth pairs. Then you need to upload them on Google Search bucket. And finally, you use Vertex AI Python library to submit the model evaluation job. If we examine the dataset, this is how it would look like. As you can see, you have to provide the prompt with the instruction and the context. Additionally, you need to provide the ground truth, which will be used together with the generated answers to calculate metrics related to the selected task. In our case, it's summarization task, and our metric will be Rouge. Remember, it's always a good idea to offer at least 10 examples that are similar to the situations where the application will be used. When you have prepared your dataset and uploaded it to the Google storage bucket for model evaluation job, you can utilize the model evaluation pipeline template that we provide. Vertex AI model evaluation leverages Vertex AI pipelines to scale model evaluation for GenAI models. In this slide, you are going to see the parameters that you need to pass for running the eval pipeline. These parameters include the location of the evaluation dataset, the task that is going to be performed, and the model that should be utilized for the task. With those parameters, you can then run the model eval pipeline job using the Vertex AI Pipeline SDK, as you can see from this slide. With that being said, in the first demonstration of today, we will be using automatic metrics to evaluate the text-based model in a summarization task. So without further ado, let's delve into the demo. You can see Vertex AI and all of the services it provides accessible on the left side of the interface. For those who are unfamiliar with Vertex AI, it covers the entire model lifecycle. And today we are going to utilize Colab as our notebook environment. First, you need to prepare the model evaluation dataset with prompt and ground truth pairs. Remember that the automatic metrics service evaluates model results based on the input prompt and output response pairs only. Then we need to upload them to the cloud storage bucket. Once our evaluation dataset is ready, we can specify the evaluation spec, passing the dataset and the test we want to perform. After that, we can run the pipeline job. We have just seen the running pipeline job. Here we use a Vertex AI Python library to submit the model evaluation job. In addition to those parameters, we also added model name. A pipeline run is performed within the Vertex AI Pipeline UI. This is the visual of pipeline. Clicking on the pipeline runs will reveal how a Vertex AI pipeline for automatic metric appears. This pipeline is highly detailed and, as you see, comprising various components to scale the model evaluation. Now we can inspect the artifacts generated during the pipeline execution. We only focus on evaluation metric in this demo. As our use case scenario is the summarization task, we need RougeL, which helps quantify how well the summary captures the essence of the article. Notice that the same evaluation can be run for tuned LLMs, and resulting metrics will be reported in Vertex AI model registry, so you can access them whenever you want. You now have an understanding of how to use automatic metrics to assess LLMs on a specific task using Vertex AI. You may have multiple models, as I mentioned at the beginning, so you'll need to run several model evaluation pipelines to gather comparable aggregate metrics for comparison. However, depending on the user you are communicating with, these metrics can be difficult to understand. Additionally, while comparing aggregated metrics from different models, you may be able to determine which model is superior. But how about evaluating the quality of each summary in comparison to another? In particular, how would you decide which model is best at generating summaries that align with human expectations? Yes, sure. Taking a sample and examining each pair of summaries to assign a preference score is feasible, but it might be time-consuming, as you can observe from this slide. That's why you might need an automated method to scale the evaluation of LLM alignment. Therefore, I'm going to introduce you Auto Side by Side, which streamlines the process we have just observed. Auto Side by Side is an evaluation tool that enables on-demand evaluation of LLMs in A/B testing for specific tasks. In our summarization scenario, you pass the original article content and two generated summaries from different models to a judging model, the autorator. The autorator carefully assesses every response and gives an overall win rate, showing how well the superior model performs. While the win rate is a valuable metric, it's important to understand the reasons behind the autorator's preferences are also very important. That's why Auto Side by Side offers explanations for its preferences with respect to the human one at the input level. This enables users to better understand the capabilities of the models, which in turn helps explain why a particular model preference was chosen. As you can imagine, the core of Auto Side by Side is the autorator, a Google large language model that has been specifically trained to assess the quality of responses generated by other models and on an initial inference prompt. Because of that, Autorator offers unique capability to assess the performance of LLMs on Google Cloud. With that said, let's look at supported models, tasks, and criteria. Auto Side by Side can evaluate pre-existing models with already generated predictions. Additionally, Auto Side by Side can assess any model in the Vertex AI model registry that supports batch prediction on Vertex AI. Auto Side by Side can be utilized to assess LLMs specifically for summarization and question answering tasks. For each task type, Auto Side by Side employs predefined evaluation criteria. In this slide, we see those evaluation criteria. The summarization criteria considers various aspects based on the model performance. And these aspects might include its ability to follow instructions, the groundedness of the summaries it generates, and etc. Like automatic metrics, using Auto Side by Side is quite straightforward. Let's consider that you wish to assess a large language model, such as Gemini Pro on Vertex AI, for a summarization task against another model using auto side by side. Assuming you already have your LLM generated predictions, here are the steps I try to summarize that you need to take. Firstly, prepare the evaluation dataset by collecting prompts, context, and the corresponding generated responses required for the evaluation. Next, convert the evaluation dataset into JSON format and store it in Google Cloud Storage bucket, or save it to a BigQuery table. Finally, you use Vertex AI to run the model evaluation pipeline job. Now that you know these steps, let's explore each one, starting with the evaluation dataset. With its adaptable schema, auto side-by-side accepts a single evaluation dataset. In this summarization use case, the dataset is in JSON-L format, where each row represents a single example and multiple fields for it. When we are looking at the schema, there are identification fields used to distinguish each unique example. In this instance, there's an ID field and a document field containing newspaper articles for summarization. But additionally, there might be data fields such as prompt and context utilized to populate auto side-by-side prompt templates. While these fields may not be present in this case, we have the pre-generated predictions containing the responses generated by the LLM task. These responses, denoted as response A and response B, signify different article summaries generated by distinct models. Lastly, there might be human preferences in compare auto side-by-side auto rate preferences against human preference data. In this scenario, we are suggesting to give an example to show the kind of inputs your models can handle in real-world use case. Your dataset needs to have at least one evaluation example, of course, but we suggest having at least 400 examples for better aggregate metrics quality. I would like to say improvements in the quality of aggregated metrics typically slow down when we provide more than 600 examples, though. So sweet spot is around 400 and 600. Since you have an understanding of how the evaluation dataset might appear, and assuming you have uploaded it to Cloud Storage bucket, we can now proceed to define the model evaluation pipeline parameters. Auto side-by-side, released on Vertex AI, facilitates running a model evaluation job through its pipeline. Here are the main supported pipeline parameters on the screen. Evaluation dataset parameter indicates the location of the evaluation dataset. As I mentioned earlier, it might be either a BigQuery table or a comma-separated list of cloud storage paths to a JSON-L dataset. And this dataset contains evaluation examples. In our use case and the demo, we are going to use cloud storage bucket as our evaluation dataset location. ID fields distinguish unique evaluation examples. Here we typically include ID and document. Task parameter specifies the type of task evaluated, as name suggested, such as summarization or question answering. In this instance, we are focusing on summarization task. Additionally, auto side-by-side enables configuring autorator behavior. You can set inference context to reference during text execution and specify inference instructions to guide task completion. Lastly, users must provide the names of columns containing predefined predictions to calculate the evaluation metric. Once these parameters are defined, you are prepared to execute the evaluation job. Auto side-by-side uses Vertex AI pipeline, and Google Cloud provides a pipeline template with all the steps needed to evaluate your LLMs for specific tasks. Initiating an auto side-by-side model evaluation pipeline job on Vertex AI is actually simple. First, you commence a pipeline job by providing the defined parameters and the pipeline template. Subsequently, you submit a pipeline run utilizing the Vertex AI Python SDK, demonstrated in this slide. Once you successfully complete the evaluation pipeline, you can examine the evaluation outcomes within the Vertex AI pipeline by inspecting the artifacts generated during the pipeline execution. We are going to see this in a minute in our demo. And auto side-by-side generates three primary types of evaluation results: judgments table, aggregate metrics, and align metrics if human preferences are provided. The judgment table comprises metrics that provide insights into LLM performance for each example. Within the judgment tables, a choice column indicates the superior response based on the evaluation criteria employed by the autorator system. Each choice is accompanied by a confidence score ranging between 0 and 1, representing the level of confidence autorator places in the evaluation. Finally, auto side-by-side furnishes an explanation for why the autorator system favored one response over the other. Very powerful, as you can imagine, because it allows you to confidently declare one response as better than another, supported by a clear reason and a level of confidence in a numeric number. It's very tiny on the screen, but I hope you can see this. But this is an example of auto side-by-side judgments output. At the bottom, hope you can see that explanation states that the summary from Model B was favored over the summary of Model A due to its higher coherence and better coverage. Additionally, auto side-by-side provides aggregated metrics as part of the evaluation results. These win rate metrics are derived from the judgment table, indicating the percentage of times the autorator system preferred one model response over the other. I'm not sure if you are able to see, but it's 88% in this case. Such metrics are really invaluable for swiftly identifying the superior model within the evaluated test context. Now, you might be wondering about validating these auto side-by-side judgments against human preferences. The good news is that auto side-by-side supports human preferences too. In this scenario, you will need to provide additional information and parameters within the auto side-by-side pipeline. With respect to the evaluation dataset, you need to add one column which contains human preference with respect to the LLM-generated responses. And here in this slide, you can see an example with the actual column that expresses these human preferences. Additionally, regarding parameters, you should define the human preference column in the auto side-by-side pipeline before running it. But the rest of the process stays the same. You can run the evaluation pipeline job using the Vertex Python SDK as shown here. In comparison to what was demonstrated earlier, the pipeline now yields additional measurements that incorporate the human preference data provided by you. Here in this slide, you can observe the resulting output. Alongside familiar metrics such as accuracy, precision, recall, you will receive both human preference and autorator preference scores. These scores denote the degree of agreement between the evaluations. And to simplify this comparison, another metric is provided, which is Cohen's kappa. Cohen's kappa measures the level of agreement between the autorator and the human rates. And again, it ranges from 0 to 1, where 0 represents to a random choice, and the 1 is perfect agreement. In this instance, it seems that autorator and human preferences diverge, as Cohen's kappa is around 0.07. Now that you understand the process and the metrics from auto side-by-side, let's see how to put auto side-by-side into action on Vertex AI. Yes, you are right, we have another demo. In this demonstration, we will be comparing two LLMs in a summarization task, with one of them being Gemini Pro, accessible on Vertex AI. The dataset we will utilize is a modified sample from exam dataset. This is a commonly used dataset for evaluating summarization systems. So without further ado, let's dive into the demo. Recall from the earlier demo, Vertex AI comprises a series of services covering the entire model lifecycle.
Okay.
Accessible on.
Give me a second. Oh, there it is. You ever? I might be the only random person that experiences this, but I be feeling like sometimes. Here, let me have my charger. I feel like sometimes I go to use an emoji and it don't exist no more, and I know I'm not crazy. Or they be like changing emojis out, and it's like, who told you to do that? Like nobody told you to do that. Okay. If I'm being honest, I need some calories and I need some caffeine, but um and I need to put my phone on do not disturb because I can't focus right now. I'm like trying to absorb what she's saying. But I'm getting distracted. What is up with my phone? If you don't open the app, I'm not about to play with you. Oh my gosh. Let me take a deep breath. My phone is tripping. I can't open I can't open my freaking Uber Eats app all of a sudden. I don't know why. Is it downloading the update? What's happening? Where even is oh my god, why do I have 13 text messages? Daylight. Wait, what's this? Oh Jesus. This is okay. Now, is my app done doing whatever it was doing? Because it's not opening. Oh, God. Oh yes, installing the update. Okay, that's fine. All right, let me watch her demo.
On the left side, Gemini Pro, accessible on Vertex AI. The dataset we will utilize is a modified sample from XSUM dataset. This is a commonly used dataset for evaluating summarization systems. So without further ado, let's dive into the demo. Recall from the earlier demo, Vertex AI comprises a series of services covering the entire model lifecycle, accessible on the left side. For our purposes, again, we are going to use Colab as our notebook environment. As I previously mentioned, to assess Gemini Pro, we require an evaluation dataset. In this instance, it includes an ID column, a document column containing newspaper articles for summarization, and two distinct summary options generated by different models. Once we have obtained the dataset and uploaded it to the cloud bucket, we proceed to define the model evaluation pipeline parameters. This involves specifying the location of the evaluation file and identifying the response columns for both model A and model B. Subsequently, these parameters are passed by a pipeline job, which generates pipeline runs on Vertex AI pipeline services.
So we seen this
Once we
job set
initiate
up
this job, you
before.
will find a pipeline run within Vertex AI pipeline UI. You are going to see this in a minute. When you click the pipeline run, it will reveal how a Vertex AI pipeline for auto side-by-side appears. This pipeline is highly detailed, again comprising various components, including model responses for both model A and model B. But as you can imagine, a key component is the autorator model. Once you successfully complete the pipeline, you will receive a range of artifacts, such as judgments table and aggregate metrics. These metrics can be explored within the Vertex AI pipeline UI. You just need to click them. Additionally, with the Vertex AI Python SDK, you have the capability to retrieve both judgments and aggregated metrics directly within the notebook environment. For instance, we just saw an illustration of judgments. Each example includes response A, response B, and explanation provided by auto side-by-side services, indicating why response B is preferred over response A, along with corresponding confidence score. I don't know if you're able to see, but it's at the bottom. It says 1. Similarly, you can obtain the aggregated metrics, which provide the preference of the auto side-by-side autorator with respect to responses from both model B and model A. In this brief demo, I just demonstrated how to utilize auto side-by-side for evaluating responses from model A and model B. In this instance, the responses were summaries. That's why we compared those summaries. Now let's consider the integration of human preference into this process. As I mentioned earlier, auto
Oh, she a
side-by-side
good
supports human
one.
preferences, and the process
She a good one. She said, "I'm not about to do a live demo. I'm about to record this and walk y'all through the recording." That's how you. That's an expert right there.
remains unchanged. Starting again from the notebook within the Colab environment, we first notice an additional column in the evaluation dataset labeled actual, which provides human preferences regarding a specific document. This summary is provided by a human, offering an expected summary. Subsequently, we add the human preferences column to the parameters of the model evaluation pipeline and initiate another pipeline job. As previously, a new pipeline run will be generated within the Vertex AI pipeline UI. Once we click the pipeline run, we observe the pipeline structure remains unchanged. However, we will see additional parameters and information, which enable us to calculate the supplementary measures. Once you complete the pipeline run, you can review the judgments and metrics within the Vertex AI pipeline UI. Clicking on the aggregated metrics reveals more metrics, some of which that we were already discussed, but not that same metrics reviewed in the UI can be obtained using the Vertex AI SDK. In summary, we just demonstrated how to utilize auto side-by-side on Vertex AI for evaluating LLMs, comparing them within specific tasks, and ensuring alignment with human preferences. This is just one of the many applications of auto side-by-side. For instance, another use case involves evaluating a fine-tuned first-party model against a foundational non-fine-tuned first-party model. Ultimately, the key takeaway is that auto side-by-side provides a versatile tool for assessing large language models. It empowers users to make informed decisions and optimize applications based on large language models. Now we have reached the end of our session today, but before transitioning to the Q&A session, I would like to summarize the key takeaways. As I mentioned at the beginning, evaluation model is crucial in both predictive and generative AI processes. And at Google Cloud, we strongly emphasize that model evaluation is central to this. There are several challenges in GenAI evaluation, which remains an unresolved problem. That's why we have GenAI evaluation services at Google Cloud. Today, we also talk about how automatic metrics are crucial to scale the evaluation of LLMs. While eyeballing results are important, it's critical to find an automated way to evaluate a large number of outputs. This ensures the right confidence to deploy and uncovers issues which are not visible when evaluating a small sample of dataset. Ultimately, with Auto Side by Side, our Autorator supports A/B testing for LLMs. You can evaluate any generative AI model using this approach. Remember to utilize all the elements we offer to scrutinize the results. While our current raters for summary and Q&A are quality controlled and tested against human judgment, you as the user are the one who is gonna judge of these outputs. Please look beyond just the aggregate metrics, delve into the raw-based results, explanations, and uncertainty scores to ensure the alignment with your preferences. And all of this are accessible to you in Vertex AI, which is Google Cloud's managed, open, unified, and modular platform for building and using both predictive and generative AI. For more information on model evaluation on Vertex AI for generative AI, please check out following resources. You can see some documentation links, notebooks, and videos and blog posts. At Google Cloud, we also offer a learning opportunity called Cloud Skills Boost, which will help you to enhance your cloud abilities. There are two specific learning paths in the slide. Please feel free to check out them. One of them is Introduction to Gen AI, and the other one is Gen AI for Developers. Based on your skill set, you can choose any of them. And I hope you enjoyed the session, and thank you for your time. Back to you, Luisa.
Hi, Ezra. Thank you so much. That was great. You covered a lot of content in quite a short space of time, which means we've got loads of time for questions and answers. But before we jump in, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to catch your breath. I'm just going to run through a couple of other slides and then I'm going to bring you back. So don't go anywhere.
Thank you.
All right. As I said, before we bring Ezra back, a couple of quick things. Wanted to cover our Google for Startup Cloud program. Those of you that have been with us for the last 5 weeks, you will have heard Timon and I talk about this program. We would love for you to build your Gen AI solutions with us on us. So the last 5 weeks, we've been covering how you might go about that, different products, different solutions. We give you cloud credits if you're an eligible startup, and you can use those credits to build those solutions. So you don't have to worry about the cost. And not only that, you get to come and join the Google Cloud community. So you get to connect with experts like Ezra and all of our other brilliant speakers. We have events dedicated just for startups all around generative AI and all the other topics that you might need some help with as you're getting started. So scan the QR code or visit that Google link that's there, I think being dropped into the Q&A as well. Whether you're bootstrapped, whether you're AI first, Web3, you've just raised your first funding round, we've got offers and support available for all of you, and we would love to have you join the community. So scan that QR code right now. I think that's actually it from me. So I'm going to bring Ezra back onto the screen and we're going to run through some questions. Are you ready? You feeling ready for all these questions that we've got?
Hopefully I am.
I know you are. You're an expert. Okay, first one is, how can the auto rater, like a Google LLM, know what is the best summary given that the unique sector-specific use cases which auto rater might not be familiar with?
I think this is a great question. Our evaluation metrics are trained on general use cases. So you can definitely provide more context to it. But since they are specifically trained on general use cases, without any like sector specific information, they are able to summarize. But definitely additional context would help to enhance your experience with evaluation metrics.
Got it. So the more you tell, the more that you give, the more accurate it's going to be what comes back. Yeah, we've heard that a lot throughout the last 5 weeks of classes. How do you evaluate generative image model?
This is a great question. And also, I would like to say this is the area that a lot of research are still going on. And evaluating multimodal models actually requires specialized techniques. And as I mentioned, this remains an active area of ongoing research with numerous ongoing studies and investigations. I can provide some articles, I can reference some articles, but just like to give you some rough idea, I can list a couple of them as far as I know, because as I said, this area is still brand new. But I can suggest, for example, task-specific metrics. You can define task-specific evaluation metrics that consider the unique characteristics of multimodal data and specific tasks. In this case, it's going to be image evaluation, I guess, based on the question. And also you can evaluate the performance of multimodals based on cross-model retrieval tasks. The goal here is to retrieve relevant information from one modality, given input from another modality. Metrics such as retrieval accuracy or mean average precision can be used to assess model performance. Another method that I can remember right now is fusion strategies. You can experiment with different fusion strategies for combining information from multiple modalities. Common fusion techniques include early fusion and intermediate fusion, and you can evaluate the impact of different fusion strategies on your model performance. In that case, it's going to be image model evaluation, image evaluation. And obviously, you can conduct human evaluations to assess the quality of multimodal outputs. I think this is the most frequent method right now that we are using, since this is the early stage of the product. And another method that I can suggest, dataset creation. You can create annotated multimodal datasets with ground truth labels or annotations for evaluation purposes. This is another uh, methods that we are using very frequently for image use case, but we need to ensure that dataset covers diverse scenarios and modalities relevant to the task that we are handling. Um, Another idea might be using transfer learning to leverage pre-trained multimodal models and fine-tune them on specific tasks or domains. Um, Another thing that I can consider, generalization and robustness. You can assess the generalization and robustness of multimodal models by evaluating their performance on diverse datasets. I think here, including out of domain or adversarial examples might be useful. And last thing that I can tell for this question is evaluate the interpretability of multimodal models by assessing their ability to provide explanations or insights into modal predictions. Techniques such as attention mechanisms or visualization methods can be used to interpret model behavior. But these methods, as I said, are still in early stage. So in order to perform image model evaluation, we should definitely look at more resources, and I can just like reference a couple of articles. I hope you answer your question.
I think you definitely did. That was a very thorough answer. Thank you. And for anybody watching, we'll try and add those into the Q&A section, the articles that Ezra references. And I'm sure if not, she
I
doesn't mind if you
wonder
reach out
if
directly on LinkedIn
I
if you want
wonder
to ask any
I
questions
hope
or
all
get
this
those
material is
articles
still
too.
going to be here
I hope you don't mind
afterwards.
me offering your
'Cause I need to
LinkedIn
go
to
back through
everybody,
all of
Ezra.
this.
Great. Okay, question 3. How to test debug a pipeline job? How would you go about that?
Hmm. As someone who created a lot of machine learning operations content, I might say I can give a couple of advice here. Machine learning operations is the area that we are productionize our either predictive AI or generative AI models. And testing and debugging a pipeline job typically involves several steps to ensure its functionality and identify and resolve any issues. Um, as any programming test, you can start with unit testing. You can break down the pipeline into smaller components and then test each component each individually. Obviously, this is gonna help you just like ensure each part of the pipeline behaves as expected. Another common practice that we are doing for any software programming is integration testing. Once individual components are tested, you can integrate them to test the entire pipeline. Therefore, you can verify the data flow smoothly between the components and the pipeline produces the desired output. Another testing that actually not testing, another idea that we can use to test and debug our pipeline, input data validation. I think for machine learning projects, it's vital. You should check the quality and integrity of the input data. I would like to reference a very well-known phrase here, garbage in, garbage out. Your model is as best as your data. That's really important to ensure that the data format is correct and you are handling any missing or erroneous data appropriately. Another thing that we can do for, again, for any software programming, error handling. You can implement robust error handling mechanisms to handle unexpected errors. Therefore, you can log error messages and expectations to facilitate debugging. Um, I will tell another method for specifically machine learning models. This is parameter tuning. You should experiment with different parameters and configurations to optimize the pipeline's performance. This may involve adjusting hyperparameters, batch sizes, or other settings, but it's really important to test your pipeline. And thankfully, we have logging and monitoring services on Vertex AI, and it's really important because you can set up logging and monitoring systems to track the pipeline's execution. But with Vertex AI, you don't need to set up anything. Whenever you run your pipeline on Vertex AI, you are going to see all performance metrics in real time. You can monitor resource usage, execution times, and other relevant metrics to identify bottlenecks or issues. I think it's very cool to have such a feature on Vertex AI. And you can use a couple of like debugging tools and techniques to identify and diagnose issues in the pipeline. This may include, as I mentioned, logging, debugging libraries, or interactive debugging, and sometimes visualization tools might help. Another advice that I would give anyone who is dealing with machine learning models is pipeline versioning. You can maintain version control for the pipeline code and configuration, and this will allow you to track change over time and roll back to previous versions whenever you need. Uh, Another thing that I can suggest, collaboration and documentation. I think for testing and debugging, foster collaboration among team members is crucial. So you can do this by just like documenting your pipeline structure, dependencies, and testing procedures. And clear documentation, believe me, helps streamline troubleshooting and knowledge sharing a lot. For more information about machine learning operations, I think you can check our courses on Google Cloud Skill Boost.
Yes, and we've given you all free credits to use those Skills Boost training sessions, so there's absolutely no excuse. You can go and find all of those, and you don't have to pay to access them
So
either. So
there's
that's a great
absolutely
tip
no
as well. Thank you,
excuse.
Ezra. Are there any off-the-shelf LLM benchmarking metrics?
Actually, we touch upon to this throughout the presentation. Automatic metrics are offering a couple of them. There are several of off-the-shelf metrics commonly used for evaluating large language models. Some of them are Blue, Rouge, Meteor, F1 score. I don't know if you are remembering the slide that I shared during my automatic metric presentation, but there were different metrics for each type of task. For example, for classification, we had micro F1, macro F1 score, or summarization. That was our use case for our media company. We used Rouge. Those are off-the-shelf methods, but please feel free to check online more off-the-shelf metrics. Right now, we are covering those ones in our automatic metrics.
Got it. Okay. Final question from us for this evening. Someone asked, isn't automated review of AI generated content dangerous? In one of the earlier Startup School sessions, one of your experts stressed the importance of verifying output.
I think this is a brilliant question. Please remember, thank you so much for this question, first of all. Please remember the slide that I mentioned, that I shared with you at the beginning. Right now, we have 3 evaluation services. This area is still ongoing and we are just like expanding our research. But right now, we have like 3 methods. I already mentioned automatic metrics and auto side by side to evaluate your models. But I think the last one that we didn't cover today is really important. Please check our official documentation to learn more about it. But I just would like to give you the high level idea. It takes a bit different lens and tries to understand if there is bias in my model responses. That's why you don't need to worry about if your automatic review of AI generated content is dangerous or not, uh, because it explicitly look at your model if there is any bias in my safety filters towards a certain identity group. So one example that it could detect is that my model is producing more toxic content when it's for females compared to males. This is just like one of the use case, but obviously there are many use case for this specific tool. Hopefully we can have another session just like to talk about safety bias, but we definitely care responsible AI and all safety tools in order to provide responsible AI to everyone.
That's a really good idea, actually, for another class. What would that be? A safety bias. We could kind of double down on that. Yeah, really good question and a great answer. Thank you, Ezra. And plenty for me to go away and think about. That's the end of our class today. Thank you so much for being here and for your really detailed, thorough answers to our questions and for your presentation. It was really great. Thank you for leading this class today.
It was a great pleasure for me. Thank you so much for having me today.
We'll see you soon. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Okay, Ezra's gone, and it's just left to me to wrap up our
Okay,
final,
and I'm
final,
like a
final
minute
Startup School
late for the
classes
other
on
class.
Thursday. I'm going to miss you all spending my.
So that's good. Hold on, let's go back. Watch. All right. That was like perfect timing because I watched it at 1.25 speed, I think. I'll go back and watch it though, just to catch up. Um, but I wanted to I wanted to be at least somewhat caught up before watching this last session. Today is the last day for this program, so um, they'll probably tell us like what's going to happen to the material afterwards.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the very last session of Startup School. It's week 6. It's the last session, and I'm so excited to be with you here. My name is Timon. I'm a go-to-market manager in Google for Startups. Welcome, warm welcome. I'm really glad that we're all meeting again here for the last session of Startup School. I also want to say hola Madrid. I know in our campus in Madrid we have a watch party, so hello everybody there. I'm happy that you visited our campus. Today, we have the application development with Duet AI, a fantastic topic for the last session. You're going to learn how to be much more efficient as a developer with Google Cloud, which
Brutal,
is
brutal,
a good thing to
brutal.
do. With the help of AI, you can be much more productive and much more efficient. But all of this will be covered just in a second. Before we jump to our last one, a couple of our housekeeping rules. So as you, most of you should know, just beneath me, there is a Q&A button. We have our fantastic AI experts that are there to answer all of your questions. We're going to end, as usual, with the live Q&A with our instructor. So please don't be shy. Type your questions, but don't type them at the very end of the session. You can take the whole time. We usually cannot manage if there are 20 questions in the last minute. So be sure that you are asking them throughout the whole session today. This is recorded, as you know, and you have access to these recordings on demand. We are not sharing the slides, and more importantly, we have a couple of announcements about the future of Startup School and what happens next. But please bear with me. We're going to cover this all before our Q&A, so in about an hour. One important element to mention at this point is access to Skills Boost. We are actually recommending again today a certain lab and a certain path in Skills Boost platform. So make sure you have redeemed your credits. The time is only until tomorrow to redeem the credits. So you haven't yet redeemed your free credits to Skills Boost, make sure you're following all the instructions. You can find them in the resources tab, in FAQ tab, in the confirmation email. We've been mentioning this also in our weekly recaps. So make sure you do it until tomorrow. That's all for housekeeping. Now I want to ask Debbie to our stage, our virtual stage. Um, Debbie, a fantastic developer advocate calling us from the US. It's a very early, bright morning there. Today, she's going to show you the world of Duet AI in the context of application development. Debbie, I wish you all the best. The floor is yours, and I will
She
see
got me
you in
wanting to
about an
wear a
hour. We're going to
ponytail
have
right
some
now.
questions and some good answers, I hope.
No pressure. No, I'm just kidding.
No pressure at all. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening. Maybe you're watching the recording. Thank you for joining today. First, I'm going to start off with a little introduction to Duet AI. And to show you, we can talk about how it can help us with app development and many other things when we're using Google Cloud. So quickly, just an agenda. We'll introduce Duet AI, and then we'll talk about how it was built and what we currently have available inside of Duet. We'll talk about some insights into some of the enterprise features that are available, how it works and how we make sure that the data is handled properly. And then before we go into the demo, we'll take a quick look at some best practices with prompting, with a few specific examples on how to create prompts and massage them to just get the most out of using Duet AI in Google Cloud specifically. And then, of course, we'll go to the demo and Q&A at the end. Let's get started. So first up, why Duet AI? So why are we covering Duet AI today? So far in the startup program, you've had sessions that have touched on Vertex AI and various offerings there. You've had sessions where you code with foundational models, and you've seen, many prompts that you've tried out with those models as well. So thinking about how, as you've gone through these sessions and you try to do some of these labs and learn new things and try some of this stuff out on your own, you may have had to look at some sample documentation, or maybe look at sample code, or do research outside of the labs and the work that you're doing to get answers, essentially doing a lot of context switching. So of course, that's the way that most of us probably get information to solve our issues. We Google search, we look at Stack Overflow, but it does kind of break up the flow while we're trying to complete a task. And I don't know about all of you, but I can personally say that once I leave the tab that I'm in to go search something else or find an answer, it can mess with my productivity, my focus, my flow that I'm in, because I've kind of left that original task. And even sometimes become interested in something else and maybe go down a rabbit hole. So a lot of time is spent with these tasks like context switching or learning about new cloud services or finding best practices and even looking up, how do I get started with this new thing and onboard myself or my team. So to give a few, really specific examples, maybe you're new to a Google Cloud or you're new to some service. So you want to know, how can I integrate an API or service into my application? Or you need help understanding a code sample, right? Maybe it's unfamiliar to you, you haven't seen it before, or you wrote it last week and you just don't remember. You're taking over it for a team, over from a teammate, and or maybe you have everyday work that you have to do to update some kind of code bases, and you could really use a quick summary of those code bases to kind of speed up that task. What about testing? Testing takes time. And for me, it's not the most fun part of developing. So sometimes, things can go without being properly tested. So I need help creating some tests so that I can make sure that my code looks good and that it works well without having to dedicate as much time to it. Also, making sure that you're staying secure while sharing this information. I'm sharing prompts, I'm getting information back.
All right, all right, all right.
I'm asking for help with my code, refactoring or improving, and making sure that that data isn't being used in any way that doesn't respect your specific IP or compliance requirements that you have. So, what if you had an assistant that was always available to answer your questions on Google Cloud? What is this Vertex AI service? What are the different Gemini models? How can I deploy Cloud Run? Any questions that you may have around Google Cloud services. In addition, it'll also help you with code completion, code generation, code explanation, generating tests, deploying, and even troubleshooting errors. So Duet AI was built to help out in all of these scenarios and is continually improving in these areas. So let's talk a little bit about how Duet AI was built. So this slide kind of gives a overall view, right? So Vertex AI has been around for a while and it's made for builders, right? So for people who understand machine learning to some extent and are able to build and extend and embed models themselves. But what about for users of Google Cloud? Folks like developers, data analysts, operators running apps on Google Cloud, maybe a security people, right? Different personas that want to do things with cloud. So having said that, this picture, shows us that there are LLMs available for many specific industries, but there is this empty gap that we wanted to build and fill for, and that is cloud services, right? So this is the model that Duet AI was built on specifically for Google Cloud Services. That can help us with all of those things that I highlighted before. So that's what we built and what completes that earlier picture that we were looking at, right? Duet AI, the model that's out there currently meant for Google Cloud users. We have, Workspace and Google Cloud and other types, but I want to highlight that in this session, we'll cover specifically Google Cloud users and the personas that I just mentioned and how it helps, folks across services in Google Cloud. So this diagram gives us a little bit of insight into how it works and how it was built, right? So starting from the bottom up, at the very base, we have our foundational models that are being served then on top of Vertex AI, our infrastructure for tuning and operating these models. And then in step 3 is where we're able to infuse this with Google Cloud expertise, right? All of our Google Cloud documentation, our GitHub projects, our best practices, and our legacy knowledge. Also, it's tuned and can answer questions around Google Cloud. Then in step 4, this is an optional step, but you can make it more specific to your organization, right? You can infuse it with your own code, your own best practices, and information about your organization. And this, like I said, is an optional step, but it can be done. And once these steps are set up, and this model is then surfaced in areas where users can access it, right? So step 5 at the top there, you can use it in the Google Cloud Console via chat, or you can use it in BigQuery Studio to help write some queries, in the Log Explorer, looking for help understanding a log entry, or in the IDE. So this model has been infused with all this Google Cloud knowledge and possibly your organization knowledge, and it can now help you accelerate the value for your customers, but also for your own teams internally as well, right? And across these Google Cloud surfaces that we have that many of our practitioners use today. So that's how Duet AI was built and the different layers that kind of go into it. So Duet AI for practitioners. Again, I'm using the word practitioners because, of course, it's for developers, but again, analysts, operators, there are other personas that can also use this. So this slide is really to just reiterate what I said before, right? So Vertex AI is for builders and Duet AI is for users, just to really hone in on the difference there because there can be some confusion. And I also want to point out that although we do have Duet AI for Workspace, which is helping you with all things like Docs and Gmail and slides, all of the pieces of Workspace that many of us use, that's not the focus of today's session. So we won't be covering any Workspace. We'll be covering Duet AI for Google Cloud. Okay, so let's look at it across the different areas. It can help you if you're doing development, of course, but also if you're doing data analytics, maybe in BigQuery Studio, or it's also in Looker. It can help you in security products like Chronicle and Security Command Center. And all of these are available in one way or another today. Some of these are in private preview still, but what's available, generally available today is this first bullet here, AI assisted development and operations, right? That's the code completion, the chat, the IDE, the generation. And I additionally want to point out the third bullet here, that it's available in IDEs like VS Code and IntelliJ and a few more. So we know that you want to use the tools that you enjoy. So we have that available in some of those as well. Then the second circle here, the green one, the security piece is more focused on enterprise features, although it's important for everyone. And we make sure that security points that we highlighted before, right, are taken care of, making sure that we always are respecting security first and foremost. And this fulfills the data security policies that we have for most of our Google Cloud products. One example is source citation, for example. When Duet AI suggests code to you, it shows you where that code is coming from, along with a license for that. So you can then make a decision on whether you want to use that code or not. And you can always look to our documentation to see more information about this and double check anything that you might want to check. And of course, it's powered by our foundational models. Okay, so quickly let's touch on enterprise features, right? Because there are two types of AI, right? And one is consumers and one is enterprise. And the reason we have these is because there are different needs, right? So there are going to be different features. There are the consumer-based tools like Bard and MakerSuite. But when it comes to enterprises, we need to make sure that we cover additional needs like, can we control our data? Can we control our costs? Can we integrate into our existing data and applications? So the readiness here from an enterprise perspective is built into this from the very start. It's really part of the core of the generative AI that we put into Google Cloud. So, none of the prompts that you give are saved. We don't use this data to teach our servers. There's none of that, none of the code you provide. So I mentioned, the code citation is one of the things here, but also, Duet AI is available across various regions, and there are different needs in those words, and something comes up. Really treat it as if, it's a code. Use natural languages. So when you're using in those regions in terms of security and compliance, and if you have a secure website on Google Cloud, what's
How did
one
I get so
example? Of
behind?
course,
Oh,
it's
because I
powered
paused it.
by our
Duh.
foundational models. Okay, so quickly let's touch on enterprise features, right? Because there are two types of AI, right? And one is consumers and one is enterprise. And the reason we have these is because there are different needs, right? So there are going to be different features. There are the consumer-based tools like Bard and MakerSuite. But when it comes to enterprises, we need to make sure that we cover additional needs like, can we control our data? Can we control our costs? Can we integrate into our existing data and applications? So the readiness here from an enterprise perspective is built into this from the very start. It's really part of the core of the generative AI that we put into Google Cloud. So, none of the prompts that you give are saved. We don't use this data to teach our servers. There's none of that, none of the code you provide. So I mentioned, the code citation is one of the things here, but also, Duet AI is available across various regions, and there are different needs in those regions in terms of security and compliance. And if you have specific compliance requirements, that's also taken care of when you're using Duet AI. And of course, all of our responsible AI principles are embedded into the product. Okay, so let's quickly talk about some best practices. So one of the things that's really important is when you're writing these prompts, use natural language. Make it sound like you're talking to a person. This isn't like Google search where you can add a few random keywords and something comes up. Really treat it as if it's a coworker, a friend, the one that you go to all the time when you need help with something. And you can speak to it in a natural way, and that will give you a better response when you're speaking to it this way. So one example here is if I just put in vulnerability scanning, I'm going to get a simple answer. You can see it here. But what if I go a step further, right? What if I say a more natural language prompt, like what vulnerability scanning does Google Cloud Security Command Center provide? And I can see that the response that I get is longer, more in depth, and gives me more knowledge and useful information. Then tell Duet AI why you're trying to accomplish a task, right? So this can be really helpful because it tells it what you need for it to provide a more useful answer. So telling it that you want to set up a simple, secure Google Cloud site for hosting a blog provides more helpful details than just asking, how can I deploy a website? So here it is. How do I set up a website on Google Cloud? Okay, here's how you set up a website. You can follow the steps in the guide, and here's some more information if you want to look. Okay, this answer is, not really that helpful. It has minimal information. How do I set up a secure website on Google Cloud? What services are available to help set up that website? So here it gives you a much more detailed response. Here's what you can do. Here's more information. And it's just more helpful overall, right? It gives me more options. Including your level of expertise. This one is interesting. This one can be, really helpful sometimes. At times you can just put your level of expertise in there to get an answer in line with what you're looking for. So if I say, you're an expert software developer using Google Cloud versus explain Kubernetes to me in the simplest way possible, I'm going to get different responses. So here I'm saying, you're an expert. Explain Kubernetes to a fellow expert. So it gives me general Kubernetes terms here. It's a container orchestration system that automates deployment. And it goes on to tell you a bit more, assuming that you know certain things about Kubernetes. Whereas if I tell it I'm a novice, I'm a beginner, it goes into explaining, oh, containers are like small boxes that hold the code and files needed to run to an application, right? So depending on how new I am to something or how experienced I am with something, I can tailor the prompt to that to get a better response. Including details about products and technologies. This one is very helpful. And the more specific you get, just in general, the better. So for example, write code to list all instances. That doesn't tell me anything about what language I want or what product I want, right? So I can get more specific and say, write Python or write Python to list all compute instances. And that'll help it out, right? Here, simple example, not much context. So it's going to give me an answer with not as much information. Whereas here, write Python code to list all Cloud SQL instances. It mentions the product. It gives me the information I need in order to do that. Same thing here. I mentioned a specific Google Cloud Client library. So it can give me, here's code to list all compute instances using the Google Cloud Client library. So the more specific information you add, the better. Okay. Breaking complex problems into more simple ones. So this is, helpful even in life. When I'm doing something very complex, breaking it down really helps me, right? So it's the same with Duet AI. If I write a whole big prompt and I see that I'm not really getting what I want here, I can break it down and go step by step, right? Write Python code, update that code to use Compute Engine, update that to list all instances. So again, step by step, I can kind of break it down, right? So here we have an example, right? Break it down, generate default Terraform script for a project, then update the script to create a VPC, then create a new sample compute instance with N1 standard types, right? So just step by step going to improve the responses that I get. Okay, so now that we've covered that, let's go into the demo. Okay. So the demo that I'm going to be doing today is based off of the development app with Duet AI Quick Lab that you all have access to. And in this lab, you use Duet AI to explore, create, modify, test, and deploy a sample application. So, I'd really encourage you to try the lab on your own after this. But hopefully this gives you some good context and information and maybe even some variations on how you can do that on your own. So in the lab, there's a lot of setup. You have to create a workstation and all these things that make you be able to do the lab. So I'm going to skip all those steps. And I'm going to be doing this in my Cloud Code console that you can see here. So we're going to start at the point where we need to be in the console. I will point out that one thing that needs to be done is we need to enable the the Duet AI Cloud Companion app. So in order to do that, you can go here to the Open Duet AI icon, And when you click that, if it's your first time, you see I get a pop-up here with the chat already. But when it's your first time, you'll get a pop-up that comes out and it says enable this API. And once you enable that, you'll then be able to start chatting with Duet AI. So just make sure that you do that. Again, it's in the lab, but if you're doing this in the console later on, that's a good way to do it. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and open my Cloud Code. And to do that, I just activate Cloud Shell up here, and then I open the terminal. So, or open the editor, excuse me. So you can see I'm already in here. And I'm just going to make sure, yep, that everything looks good. Great. Okay, so a few things. To use Duet AI in Cloud Code, we do need to enable it in our project, right? So this is already set up, but essentially what you do is you can click down here. It'll say no project at the time, and you'll get a pop-up here that comes up and says select Google Cloud Project, at which point you'll select your project and make sure that it then shows up down here. Additionally, we need to enable Duet AI in here. So at this, again, this will be in a brown rectangle instead of gray like this, and that's what tells you that it's not enabled. So you can click into there and you'll get a pop-up that says enable Duet AI or select Duet AI project here. And you can go ahead and select the project. You can see I'm already in the project, but there it's been updated. So that's how you can do it to make sure that you're in your project and in Duet AI. One thing I'll point out is sometimes in the Cloud Code, this won't happen to you in your Quick Lab, but in Cloud Code, there can be a logging out situation. So if I open a new folder or do something like that, it can log me out. So I'm always just going to be consistently checking that my project is logged in and that Duet AI is enabled. Usually if I get an error, that's the first thing that I look at. Okay, so we have Duet AI enabled and we're ready to go. Let me just check on the steps here. Okay, so we can go ahead and start using Duet AI now, right? So I will close this, right? So let's say I'm in my Explorer. In order to get to Duet AI, I have the chat icon over here. So I can just click that. And that is how I can use the Duet AI chat in the Cloud Code, right? So same thing as in the console, I have the chat that pops up on the right. Here it pops up on the left. And I can interact with the model right here. So now we have everything configured. Let's get into the fun stuff. So starting technically in the lab, this will be on step 4 because we've already enabled everything. So let's go ahead and chat with Duet AI. So the example here is maybe I'm new to Google Cloud and I need to use to create this app, right, to deploy it. So I'm going to give it a prompt. Hey, I'm new to Google Cloud and I want to use the Cloud Code extension. Give me some examples of Google services that I can use in order to build and deploy a sample application. I'm just going to open the chat a little bit here. Okay. There we go. So then Duet AI gives me an answer, right? It comes back with all of these different options. It tells me that it supports a variety of Google Cloud services. Here I can do Cloud Run, Cloud Functions, Cloud Build, Cloud Deploy. And I want to know a little bit about these two, serverless options, let's say. Okay, Cloud Run and Cloud Functions. I want to know more about that. So what's the difference? What's the difference between Cloud Run and Cloud Functions? And give it a second there. And it gives me a response here. So it tells me the difference. Cloud Run is more general purpose platform, can be used for a wider variety of tasks. Cloud Function is more specialized and it's designed for event-driven functions. Wonderful. And it also gives me down here a table. Okay, here's some feature comparisons. Here's what you might want to know. Great. One quick thing I want to mention is that if you ever need to, the chat history has context and things. So if you're ever wanting to maybe start over or get some different responses, you can always click the little garbage can icon here in the upper right. and that will reset the chat. And you can do that at any time. Okay, so then now that we've kind of asked Duet AI, hey, what are some of the, options I have? Let's say I decide, okay, I want to use Cloud Run to develop my Python app, right? So I can ask Duet AI for help with that. So I can put something like, how do I create a new Cloud Run app in Cloud Code using the command palette? And then maybe I want to know what languages are supported, because I want to make a Python app. So I just want to double check that Python is an option here. Great. Okay. And so here it gives me the steps, right? It gives me the steps to create a new Cloud Run app in the Cloud Console. It tells me step by step what to do. And here it tells me the languages that are supported. And, Python is in there, which is great because that's the language I want to use to create my app. So now I can go ahead and start creating my app. So I'll just follow the steps here, right? So I can do Command Shift P to bring up the command palette. And or you can also do, you can go view or command palette as it sits there, and then I'll type in cloud code. Oh, cloud code, and I can see here it says new application, so I'll go ahead and click that. And I know from the information it gave me before that I want to make a Cloud Run application, so I'll go ahead and click Cloud Run, and I'm going to use the Flask framework, so hit that. Okay, and then I want to name it, let's do just Hello World here, just to go with what the Quick Lab says. Okay, so now it's initializing, it's doing the steps. Wow, that was very quick, and there it is, right? So I have my Cloud Run app here. Actually, I see it's pulling from something old here. So I'm going to, just in case, I'm going to create that again, but I'm going to name it something different. So again, I'll do new application, Cloud Run, Flask, and I'll name it Hello World. Let's do 2, just to be safe. Okay, interesting. Why is this occurring? So I have done this lab before, but this was all cleaned up. So it must just be pulling in old things. Okay, so I'm going to try one more time. New application. Let's name it Hello World 7, just in case, and see if that does it. There we go. Okay, so it created my app, and it brings up the README here and gives me all of the information about the app. Wonderful. Okay. So I can just close that out. I'm not really going to use that. So
All right, I'm gonna eat
now
lunch
that my
while
app
this
is
is
created, and I can
finishing
see on the
up.
side here that I have the Explorer, right, with all my app files in my app, and I want to explore the files a little bit. I want to see what's in here. So I'm going to ask Duet AI to help me do that. So let's say I want to look into the Docker file that I have here, and I want to know, this is very short code. I could just quickly read this, but imagine that this is much longer code, and I just want to know what is this Docker file doing. So this is what I mentioned before, right? When I reloaded the app, it signed me out of the project. So I just want to click here and make sure in the bottom left that I'm signed into the project. There we go. And Duet AI is enabled. There we go. Okay, so I'll just highlight this, and I see a little light bulb that comes up here. And this, if I click it, it shows me more actions, and I can have it explain the code to me. So let's see what it comes up with. There we go. It tells me the Docker file that I provided. It's creating a Docker image from a Python application. And then it goes on to tell me basically what each line is doing in this Docker file. And let's see, the final instruction is entry point. Okay, I want to know more about this entry point instruction. So I can also just highlight that and once again do explain this. Right, it tells me the entry point is the instruction in Docker file, right? And it goes on to give me more information about that. And I can see that it mentions the app.py file here. So I want to know more about the app.py file. So I can go back into my Explorer, find the app.py file here and see what information it's giving me. And again, I can do the same thing here. I can highlight the information, or I can go back into my chat. And since I have this file open, I can just say, explain this file. Right? And it does the same thing as the light bulb. It's just a different way to access it, right? It tells me about the file, what is going on with it, and that the K service and K revision environment variables in there. So that's extremely helpful. It tells me what each section of the code is doing. It's really, again, this is very short code, but imagine if you have 300, 1,000, 5,000 lines of code. This summary could be very helpful and save you a lot of time. It's basically as if your code comes with a synopsis of what it does just by asking, hey, explain this to me. So it saves you time, not only if you're new to the code base, but if you haven't seen it in a long time, or maybe you're unfamiliar with the language it's written in. So it's really helpful, right? So now that I have a better idea of what's going on in this app, I want to test it out, right? So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to run it in my IDE here locally, just to make sure that all the code that's in here is looking good. So there are a few ways that I can do this. And in this first time running it, I'll show you how to do it with the Cloud Run emulator. So I can go here into Cloud Code, click into Cloud Run, and I can see this little play button says Run App on Local Cloud Run Emulator. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and this can take, a little while sometimes, but basically it's going to ask me, you want to do it in your local instance here. I want to run it and debug it locally. Yes, so I'm just going to go ahead and run that. And while that's running, I can look in here and see the detail that's happening in my terminal, and I can explore it further if I want. You can go into the detailed view and do more here. You'll see here it says starting Minikube. You might get a pop-up at some point that says, do you want to authorize Minikube? Just go ahead and click yes on that and enable it. And so right now it's just running the app on the local emulator. And you can also see, like I said, the progress here in the output tab. So this might take a little bit, but essentially what it's doing here is what I'm doing this for is so I know that everything looks good before I go ahead and actually deploy this on Cloud Run. And I'll do this a few times, right? I'll do this after I enhance the app and make sure that it works locally before I deploy it. So we're just going to give that a second. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. The one thing I'll show you in the next step is that you can also run this in a virtual environment. And the virtual environment is nice because it can be a little faster sometimes. So I did want to show you both ways, but we do have to wait a little bit. Okay. So again, while that's loading, I'll just talk a little bit about what's coming. So next, we're going to enhance the app, right? Once we make sure that this is working. Oh, there we go. Okay, successfully deployed. Wonderful. So now we can go to our link here and just make sure that it's working. Opening it up. Making sure that yeah, it works. Okay, it's running, right? And it gives me a nice greeting with a cool picture here of a unicorn and people happy because it's running. And it says, you created the revision local, Hello World 7, the app that I created. Great. So I want to go back here now. So as I was saying, now that we've been able to test that and make sure it looks good, I want to go ahead and enhance my app. So this would be step 6 in the Quick Lab. So I'm going to go back into my Explorer because what I want to do with this app is manage inventory, right? I want it to be an inventory management app. So I know how many products I have and if they're on hand or not, are they in stock? So what I can do is I can go back here into the Explorer and I'm actually going to create a new file. And the new file is going to be called, and sorry, in order to do that, I can just click this little piece of paper here with the plus. And the new file, inventory.py. Great, so I have my new file in there, and I'm actually going to ask Duet to help me generate some sample data for this inventory. So I can make sure that once I have my real data in there, the app will work. So in order to do that, I can go ahead and open up the Duet AI chat again and type in here my prompt. So create a variable called inventory, which is a list of 3 JSON objects. Each JSON object has 2 attributes, product ID and on-hand quantity, and both attributes are strings. I did copy that straight from the lab, so you'll be able to see that in there. I'm gonna leave it here just so you can see it. Okay, and there we go. Duet AI gives me some code back. Now, this is wonderful. It's super helpful, but I always want to make sure that I'm double checking my code, right? So I want to double check here that, okay, I have 3 JSON objects and each JSON object has those 2 attributes that I want, product ID and on-hand quantity, and those look like product IDs and quantity to me. So I'll go ahead and insert the current file. Insert this code into the current file. There's 2 ways I can do that. I can just click this plus sign and it'll appear in my file here, which is super helpful. Or I can do copy if I want to copy and paste it for any reason. So great, now I have my inventory.py file. I'll make sure to save this. I think we have autosave here, but just in case, you can do Command S or File Save. And now we have our inventory data. So now we can introduce API methods that can help operate on this inventory data. So in order to do that, I'll go back into my Explorer here and go to my app.py file. And from there, I want to modify this Flask import statement that I have here. So what I want to do is I want to add I want to JSONify the library, and then I want it to import from inventory. So I'll just go ahead and add JSONify here and import inventory. From inventory, import inventory. Great, so then I have my modified Flask statement there. And now I want to put my cursor underneath here where it says Flask name, app Flask name, and just give myself a few more lines because I'm actually going to ask Duet to help me generate code for my first API method. So in the app.py file, I'll just enter the following comment. And in this case, the pound sign or the hashtag triggers Duet AI to know that I want it to help me with this. So generate an app route to display a list of inventory items in the JSON format from the inventory.py file. And I'm telling it use the get method. So now to ask Duet AI to generate some code for me, I can just highlight these lines here and hit the light bulb again and hit generate code. Right, and I can see, sometimes it pops away. Okay, and I can see it gives me some ghost code here, right? And you can see it says 1 out of 3, so it'll give me a few different options of what kind of code I can get. These look pretty similar. So, why does it keep doing that? All right, we'll do that one more time just to make sure you all got it. Okay, generate code. So I like this first one. So in order to accept, I can either click here or I can press tab. There we go. And then I have my my code here. Now, I think I actually want to edit this a little bit, and maybe I actually had an example in there that said inventory list instead of get inventory, but I'll just change it manually. So this is another thing to make sure, right? We always want to double check the code that we're giving. It might be more helpful, but it might need a little bit of editing here and there. So I just put inventory lists here and everything else looks good. Wonderful. So that helps me get one of my APIs going there to give me a list of the items in a JSON format from the inventory.py file. Great. So now I want to add another method, right? So I'll add a few blank lines in here. And now I want to ask it to give me an app route to get a product from the list of inventory items based on that product ID, again, using the get method. And if there's an invalid product ID, I want it to return a 404 error. So again, I'm copying this comments from the lab, but you can see here, right? Generate an app route to get a product from the list of inventory items given the product ID. Use the get method, and if there's an invalid product ID, return a 404 error. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight these lines again, click the light bulb, and generate code. Great, so again, I have some ghost code here, so I'm just going to double check and make sure that it looks like the code that I want. And I do have another screen here, so that's why I'm looking over here, but I just want to double check and make sure that it's giving me the right information. So you can see if you click out or if you go to another window, the ghost code can disappear. So just something to note there. Okay, so it's giving me inventory item. That looks good. It says for product in inventory instead of for an item in the inventory. So I'm actually going to edit the prompt a little bit because I wanted to say an item from the inventory. So maybe let me change this to get an item from the list of inventory items given the product ID. And let's see if that gives me something closer to the code that I want. Great, yeah, so I can see here it changed from product for item in inventory to item. So for item in the inventory, if the item ID is available, then show the product ID and return it in a JSON format. And if it's not available, if the product ID is not available, then return an error, product not found or invalid product. So I'm going to, this looks pretty good, but instead of invalid product ID, I do want it to say product not found. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit that. So this is a little look into the non-deterministic nature of Duet AI and all of these LLMs, right? So as we continue to improve on these and as they continue to learn more, they can change the answers they give us. I did this lab just the other day and it gave me, the correct answer that we're seeing here, product now not found, but this time it gave me item not found. And that doesn't mean that the code wouldn't work, but just for the sake of sticking to the quick lab, I'm making sure that the code looks like what we want it to look in the quick lab. Okay, great. So now I have my app route here that I wanted, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure to save that again. And just to highlight, I did hit tab to accept that code, but you can also click the accept button. Okay, so now I want to rebuild the app locally again. But this time I want to do it by creating a virtual environment just to show you the different way that you can do it, right? So it's a little quicker and it's just a different way to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and open the command palette and I can look for create environment. And here I have it in Python. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And I want to create a virtual environment. So I can click that and just select the version of Python that I want. In this case, I want the latest version. And I'll select the dependencies that I want to install. So in this case, I only have my one folder open, so I only have one requirements text file. But if I'm in, my overall user folder, it'll show me, hey, you have all these different folders. Which of the requirement files do you want? In this case, I'll just select this one and click OK. And now I can see that it's creating a virtual environment for.
You know what? I'm gonna actually talk about this while I'm over here trying to I'm over here trying to chat about this. But I think it's easier for me to describe it. Let me see. Hold on. I want to come back. Okay. So here I'm gonna show y'all cloud again because I want to show you this froze there in case you have to take off. Um, I want to show you this now. So which tab? I'm looking for this tab right here. So inside Google Cloud, as the platform, This is where I have access to all the services, right? Same as AWS or Azure. I don't know if you have been in GCP in particular, Frozer, so definitely let me know. But you have all for people who never did anything, like if you never actually had to manage the cloud services side of your applications, like if I like technically the team I worked on in the past, we had an infrastructure team. So I did the reason why I had to spend a lot of time in the cloud platform was because of the specific team I was on. We were building a service that really was teetering between infra and service because when I was on that team, this is when I was doing vehicle connectivity. So that was the team that actually worked on the our microservices were the services that connected the vehicle to the platform directly. So, we were building those services to like process the data, send the signals, send the messages back and forth. But then we had to manage a broker. The broker, that's something that's pretty much typically cloud based. Um, depending on the services that you find and things like that. And we were doing a specific protocol, the IoT protocol. The common IoT protocol is MQTT, right? So it was like, yes, we're building these services, but also we as a team we were building this new component to the platform. Um, and this is like so aside, but basically the bigger picture was the legacy. We were replacing a legacy solution basically. Um, the legacy solution was in Azure. But then our main platform of choice at the time was AWS. So without getting into, too nitty gritty of the details, but a lot of people don't realize if you never had to go into like, if you never had to be in Azure, if you never had to be in the like Google Cloud Platform or AWS, oh my God, it's so many things that you're going to see in here. So this is actually my editor right now, or my console right now. Look how many things I got pinned. You know what I mean? So when you come in GCP, you're not necessarily going to see Vertex AI immediately, but when you go to all the services, the AI stuff is towards the bottom. Um, there's analytics. Okay, so Vertex AI is basically a set. It's like that's the main platform you would go to for, especially for a lot of the Gen AI stuff, and not a lot of the new technologies that are based on those like foundation models. All the stuff lives here. So when you hear Vertex, this is Vertex. It's like a suite of tools for specific use cases with machine learning, being able to use existing models, being able to tune, being able to, I don't know if training your own model actually falls under Vertex. I have to see where the BigQuery service lives. Um, but yeah, so here we have Model Garden. Gemini is the newest. That's the newest model, right? So, because Frozer, you have been, more so leaning into Gemini. So Gemini is just the newest model, but was to as well. Um, a lot of them are going to be the a lot of these models are going to be the Google models that are native to their platform, but then they are also incorporating other external models in here as well. So like if you wanted to use BERT, different models have different use cases for the most part, even though they're trying to make them generic. So any models that you want to have access to, um, they should typically be here in the model garden. But a lot of this stuff is more so generative AI based. So a lot of this stuff is more specific to, LLMs and things like that. And then Duet is their, Chat GPT basically, but it's their cloud version. So it's like, it is our version of Bard, or now they're calling it Gemini, right? It's our version of quote unquote that chatbot that's going to help us. It'll help you with code generation, code completion, but you can also have a chat interface where you can ask it about specifically about different Google Cloud services and how those all work together. So if you're going to be working in GCP, then you Duet is the tool that's going to have the most context on how to use all these services versus using an external tool like Why would I ask ChatGPT about GCP when I can just ask Duet? So they kind of have it integrated into this system in a couple different places. They have it. So in addition to this, there is, you can code in the cloud, and you can, and that's a whole nother thing I have to look into. Um, you can code in the cloud, code editor. Um, it'll be interesting to see how that evolves over time. Cloud Shell editor. Where are you though? Oh, that's a document, ain't it? I'm trying to figure out. I don't know how to open this. Oh my god, this is why. But anyways, Cloud Shell editor. I'm trying to remember where I opened that one up from. Cloud Shell editor has, that's what she's showing on the screen right now. Basically, that has is it here? Oh, here we go. That has the basically you can run your code. You can directly interface with the code in the cloud, since it's all in the cloud anyways. And this is probably really really helpful, honestly, for machine learning, because realistically we can't we can't like train models and stuff locally, not at this scale. So essentially she has this code editor in the cloud, and then Duet AI is a part of this. So there's a chat interface that is inside of the shell editor, and then you can, do the typical like generate code from comments and stuff like that. The actual IDE integrations are there, and then you should be able to use Duet AI locally. Though you should be able to use Duet AI on like VS Code, stuff like that. They haven't shown that, but they talked about it earlier. So I think I made the point I was trying to make, but yeah. So all of this stuff is all interconnected. So depending on, because Google is trying to be smart about it, Duet. So that means Duet AI for developers, because there's a lot of other things you can do with Duet AI, a lot of other use cases for it. But for developers, our main places that we will find Duet AI is going to be in the Cloud Shell editor, where we can kind of, have those conversations. Or you can notice up here at the very top, outside of the editor, I'm just in a general spot in the console. I can have access to, let me enable this. I can have access to Duet throughout the interface, so that, I have that assistance. So I'm planning on leaning heavy into this, because I don't know, for when I first saw that they were covering Duet AI today and like how to use it, um I don't know what I thought they were going to cover, but I'm glad that I wasn't thinking that they were going to be like, "Hey, here's how you as a developer take advantage of it." Um, I thought they were going to be like, "Here's a way that you can like generate services, like that kind of thing." But I'm like, they're really showing like how to use this as a tool, as an assistant, um, which is good, because I have a meeting today. I'm going to talk to somebody from Google Cloud today about some projects that I need to do. But at the same time, it's good to know that I can just kind of have Duet over here. And as I'm trying to figure out, which services I need to put together, or I'm thinking about how I can do certain things in the platform, literally, that's exactly that's exactly what I need right now. Because I'm trying to scope out some work, and I think I know how it's gonna work, but it's like clouds. These clouds have like hundreds of services, genuinely. So if you don't know what you're looking for in here, it can be difficult. And I am planning on, I'll definitely be getting my machine learning MLE cert from them uh after this. Um but yeah, it's a lot here. So I've mostly been hanging around Vertex AI for the Gen AI material, but I'm getting ready. When I get done with this, I'm going to start the MLE cert, because that's most relevant to what I need to do right now. And I'll continue to keep y'all updated, because then I'll be doing um more custom training, basically. I don't know. I'm weighing pros and cons of the route that we're going to take. But like I said, if I like having the conversation I'm going to have today with someone from GCP, and then having Duet AI, as I'm scoping this out, I'm trying to figure out what the approach is going to be, or like settle on the approach, I should say. I think I already know exactly what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to vet my idea, because it's like so many new items have emerged as far as the tooling and everything for developers with AI. So I'm excited. I feel like it's been really good. My co-founder, Mac, he's been saying like he's been calling me the Google the Google girl, because I'm like on the bandwagon right now. But I'm just like, it's just good. Like I I am watching this, and I have seen the tooling from 2017 till now, how far it's come for developers, like how much support we get in this whole process to be able to, get up to speed, be able to do stuff that's like production ready, but also like it's gonna be 6 years before I got a PhD. You know what I mean? So I still got to use this stuff now, but I got to use it effectively, right? So I've been appreciating watching how they have. I mean, they're a developer tool, like a central developer tool, for a reason, and it shows. So I'll probably talk more about it as I get to spend more time on GCP though. There's so much info there. I know, right? It's crazy. And it's overwhelming. So a cloud cert, I don't know, Frozer, if you ever consider getting a cloud cert, but cloud certs ain't no joke. Like those tests, like they expect you to have years of experience when you want to get a cert. On the cloud cert is not just like, here, learn this thing and then you pass. No. Cloud cert is all the cloud certs are intended, for people who have been, like, it's intended to certify what you have experience with, not what you learned. You know what I mean? You probably familiar with that, Frozer. Oh, you did your time in the cloud with Azure. Oh man. Um, but see, it just depends. Like I did time with Azure. Okay, I did time with Azure. Not my favorite, but unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you are, um, if you want to work with the OpenAI APIs like more directly, if you want the cloud platform that has GPT 3.54 native, then unfortunately that's Azure. But so I've been kicking the GPT habit, because I'm not about to be in Azure. That's all I'm saying. Not unless it's like if the company gets a partnership and Azure, we get free Azure services, I can't fight that. But otherwise, I'm be hanging in Google land. And the question keeps coming up too, to me, about why pick something like Google or even Azure over AWS. But when it comes to machine learning, and I've just, my personal preference right now, my thought process at this present time is that AWS is definitely one of the most popular platforms, as far as like all the companies I work for typically deploy on AWS. But when it comes to, so like, if it's like day to day practitioner level, like, let me just use one of these off the shelf LLMs and like do some tuning there. I think most platforms are going to get you there, especially something that's like maybe open source, or isn't owned by the big three, cloud platforms. But if when it comes to the fact that, like, right now I need to do custom model training from the ground up, I would rather be on a platform that is like that is their business. You know what I mean? Like AWS, I think they have some AI components now. They have some machine learning components, and they're building out their tooling. And I just saw Amazon Research just released a new LLM or something. I gotta look it up. I saw it on LinkedIn and I saved it. So it's not like, I'm not saying they're not doing anything in the AI space, but obviously by far, Google and Microsoft are like, center points for the research that's being done in machine learning, especially in AI. And then secondly, what was I gonna say? Yeah, you if you want native, then basically to me I would go to them. And oh, I was gonna say, even though a lot of people, are not giving Google a lot of credit just because OpenAI beat them to the market with ChatGPT, let's not forget where the original research came from. So I'm going on a soapbox for a second, but attention is all you need, right? This is the pivotal this is the pivotal research that all of our transformer models are based on right now. This is like what sparked this whole thing. This is what enables GPT. This is Google research, you know what I mean? Like, this literally changed the game. So just because they didn't beat them to the market with a product, it's like, so that's a whole nother thing, but I won't. I guess I am sounding like a Google fanboy over here, but I'm just saying. So, to me personally, as a developer who has been wanting to transition into machine learning engineering for quite some time, and who has been like, I've been following the developer tooling and stuff like that since about 2017 till now. So, seeing what we have, and even back then, I was a TensorFlow girl, like, just use TensorFlow for everything. Cause like TensorFlow was like, that was revolutionary at the time, honestly, to just be like, oh, I have this tool. And they had like, you had some libraries that was popular too, of course, and those have gotten better over the years. But like, for Google to be like, oh, you know what, we're going to start like open sourcing basically what we're doing at scale and giving building y'all the tools so y'all can use the same systems that we do, type of thing, like that was a big deal back then. So I kind of see it as, I'm starting to see it as that. Like, the way that they are integrating everything into the cloud, the way they are making the services available, how like configurable things are that you would really be having to do or write code from the ground up. And they're like, oh, you just want to go this approach, this approach, this approach. Cool. Um, here's your configuration. You want to know what everything means, of course, but it's just like, if you are a developer and you don't really care like about having to build something from the ground up, and you can actually launch off of foundation models, then everything is here for you. I promise you. And then they're giving us the chat assistant as well. So with the chat assistant, that basically means like, you can come in here and be functional just like you could with any other library or framework, any other new tool that we're trying to bring into software. But then for a person like me who's going the next level to like, I'm doing machine learning engineering, and I'm also trying to get into research and everything like that. Yeah, for me, I'm like, I want to get my cert from them because Google is like, they are literally industry leading in a lot of the research that that is revolutionizing what we're doing. So, yes, I would rather take their machine learning cert and be machine learning engineering certified on Google Cloud. That's my personal preference, but I have a thought process behind a lot of that. So I'm like, if you just want to do some general business use cases, you could probably use most clouds, AWS, Azure, or Google. They're going to have services for you. Um, Even the Chat AI assistant, think they'll all have that. But if you have to train from the ground up, then you really need to decide. You need to weigh the pros and cons of the platform, of what you might be looking for, or what you might need, and what the interoperability is of it. That's kind of how I'm thinking about it. So, a long spiel that nobody asked for, but obviously I'm excited. I'm like, this is so fun to me. Um, so this is the last part of this session. So, I have that meeting at 2:15. So depending on how much longer this is, um, that'll
Live demo.
determine that'll determine if I get to do that lab today. But I'm gonna finish up my labs for this. and go through. How far along is this? I'm gonna go through the labs after finishing this before I go on to the MLE cert. As long as you're heck yeah. I'm a nerd, man.
So
Like
put in a wrong product ID, right? Like 45789, and it'll give.
I love like software is so awesome to me.
Okay, and
I
this
I
should
always been
only
like a
take a
math person,
second. And
logic
when that's
person.
finished, I'll be able to see, there we go, it selected the environment. And I can see here in my Explorer, a virtual environment file has appeared. But also, if I scroll down here to everything that was run,
All right, thanks for popping in.
I click this out. Go into the terminal. Oh, there we go. So I can see now that I'm in my virtual environment. So in the terminal, I can see I'm in my virtual environment. And now I can go ahead and run the app by doing the Python app py command. Okay, so it does
Spaghettios.
say deployment successful, but it tells me that another program is using the port 8080. So here I can see my port 8080. So what I would do here is go into web preview and say preview on port 8080. Oh, but it actually works. Okay, so you might get an error if that happens, right? It might say like that port is in use already, which I'm getting in my terminal here. So what I can do is I can go into my app.py file and edit the port here. So I can change it to 5000, for example, and then I can make sure that saves. And then I can just rerun that Python app.py. There we go. And I can see that now it's running, right? It gives me the addresses. So now if I go to web preview, I can change the port to 5000, change and preview, and it should work. There we go. Okay, so it tells me it's running. So that's just another way that you can run the app. Instead of using the Cloud Run emulator, if it takes a little time, you can also do it here in this virtual environment. Okay, so now I've enhanced my app. I have my inventory data in there and the API methods and routes that I want, and I've rerun it. I've rerun it locally again. So now I'm going to want to test if that additional information worked. So again, I'm going to go to web preview in the port. And I'm going to remove the last piece of this URL here. And instead, I'm going to do /inventory. Inventory. Here we go. Great. And I can see it returns, right, the JSON that I asked it for. It shows me my on-hand quantity is 10, and it shows me the product ID. So that's the on-hand quantity for that product, and it shows me the three JSON sample data that it gave me. And then additionally, I can add a product ID on the end here, right? So if I say, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, there we go. If I say that, then it gives me.
All right, I knew that was gonna happen, but I just wanted to catch up and see exactly where I was.
I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, there we go. If I say that, then it gives me the specific on-hand quantity for that product ID. I can also put in a wrong product ID, right? Like 45789, and it'll give me that error, product not found, from that string that I put in the app.file. So that's wonderful. We've tested this. We can see that it works. And now that I feel good about it, my code is working, I can go ahead and deploy it on Cloud Run, right? So in order to deploy it in Cloud Run, I can go to the command palette, again, Command Shift P, Command Shift P. And you can also get to the command palette, as I said before, from File, Command Palette, or I'm sorry, View Command Palette. No, Command Shift P. Here we go. We got this. Okay, and actually it's already here, right? Cloud Code, deploy to Cloud Run. So you can type in, if it's not there for you, you can just type it in. So now it's going to start setting the project information. And actually, I can actually open this and see in the terminal that everything is running. And I'm just going to double check here. Everything looks good. So you can name this service whatever you want. I'm going to leave it as Hello World 7. Make sure it's in the same region that your information is in. And everything else looks good. So I'm just going to go ahead and deploy it. And I can actually click this Show Detailed Logs button, and it'll tell me again in the output, here's all the commands that are being run for me. So I don't have to run these commands. It's all being run for me. And back in the terminal, I actually see that my test is still running here. So in the virtual environment, in order to stop that, I'm just going to do Control C and make sure it stops running. There we go. So now I will wait for it to deploy for Cloud to Cloud Run. And in the Quick Lab, the step is a little different. You have to enable an API, but generally it's the same idea. So we'll just give it a second there to deploy. Usually this does not take more than a few minutes. There we go. Okay, so it deployed successfully. There's my URL. Wonderful. So I can go, should be able to click this. There we go. And I can see it created the revision and it deployed the Cloud Run service on Hello World 7, which is, again, what I named my service. And I should be able to do inventory here, see my inventory, and add the product ID in there and have it come up with the product ID. Okay, so that is what we have for the demo, but now I want to go back quickly before we hop into questions and everything and just talk about the long-term vision, right? The results that we want for a goal-driven interface. And basically this is like, what do we want long-term for Duet AI? So what you saw just now is what's capable for Duet AI today. But if we take it forward, we want to make sure that it's ideally more contextualized for your project. So it should be able to give you some context from the project that you're using in your session. And additionally, the most exciting part, in my opinion, is that it would ideally be able to execute for you on your behalf. So not only can it tell me how to do something, right, or explain something to me, but it can actually then complete that action for me. And that's really, like I said, one of the coolest things that I think down the line that is coming. And okay, yeah, so that's what we had for the session today. We're going to do questions, but keep in mind that Duet AI for Devs is free of charge until May 11th. And really encourage you to try the training courses that are available on Skills Boost and make sure to activate today. I think there's some limit that they'll tell you about soon. So yeah, thank you very much. And I will hand it back over to you.
Wait, let me see. What was the last little bit? Something about partner.
Explain something. And okay, yeah, so that's
Oh,
what
the
we had for the
training
session today. We're
course.
going to do questions, but
Okay.
keep in mind that Duet AI for
Oh gosh, I will never learn. Thank you.
down the line to
And muted as always. What's wrong with me? Oh gosh, I will never learn. Thank you. I said thank you for the presentation. I will let you have a short break right now. Indeed, there is a limit for the skills boost until tomorrow. The people should redeem, and the lab that you were showing, the lab you were recommended, it's guys, it's all on Google/Gen AI labs, your repository for the labs and notebooks that we recommend. Okay, Debbie, you're free to go for like a couple of minutes. And right now, I will inform all of you what is happening from now till the future. Hello.
Hello. Well,
Hello.
I couldn't leave our final session without coming to say hello and join you all. Hi everyone. Wasn't Debbie
What a
fantastic?
surprise.
I know.
Why am
I
I
know.
so pleasantly
Anyway, I
surprised?
interrupted you,
I
Tamara.
kind of
Carry on.
sad we don't have class no more. I like these
I was
people.
about to say thank you, to you. You were the host of most of these afternoon for me sessions. So for all of you, Luisa is a friendly face. I would also to mention a couple of other people like Max, Nico, Killian, Polong, Aga, Gabby. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that made it possible for all of you guys to have this 6 full weeks of startup school. And we are happy to conclude startup school right now, but it's not over. And if I can get the
Please just keep
slide,
going, man, because I'm
fantastic. So,
ready for the
a lot
next
of you have
one.
been asking, how about these sessions? Are they available? Yes, we have decided that this site will be available for you to revisit, watch all of those recordings, see this questions and answers below until May. So you can come back to any of
Okay,
the
until
sessions
May.
anytime you want. Um, when it comes to the Skills Boost access, tomorrow you have to redeem the code. If you still have some troubles, even if you followed all the instructions, shoot us an email at startupschool@google.com. But from the moment you redeemed, you have full 6 months to use their credits for all the labs and courses, and there are plenty. There are like literally hundreds of them. But of course, it would be the best if you follow those that we have recommended to go. But the world is your oyster. You can try all the others too, and you have full 6 months for it.
I can't remember their exact roles, but they both I think I can't remember their roles. They do work for Google. They work under Google for startups. Like the guy up top, I think he is the go to a go to market expert for the Google Startups program. So helping, startups go to market, cuz like Google for startups actually has they have like, accelerators, pre-accelerators, they do like training for startups, and then they also kind of help manage the you getting like those partnership credits that you might need to launch your product and stuff like that. So I cannot remember what Luisa's role is, but yeah. So but these two in particular are not necessarily, I think Luisa might be product in products, like product management, or um helping startups with the product side. But either way, yeah. So they're not engineers per se, but they are involved in helping startups get um, use Google Cloud Platform for their use cases.
But then what happens next? Well, Louisa,
Drum roll. We are planning the next edition as we speak. I was just in another meeting talking about it. It's launching in May. Save your seat is what we wanted to say. You're the first people that we're telling about this. You can go to the link that we've posted on the
Yeah, I'm about to get
slide.
my
We'll
seat
put it
right
in the
now.
Q&A. We will also share it in our follow-up email with you on Monday. We believe we're waiting for final confirmation, but we think we are going to focus this edition on building apps, agents, and bots using Gemini. We've heard from so many of you that that session was very interesting. We know that this is a great use case for all of your businesses, wherever you're a startup, an enterprise, a solo developer. We think this one's going to be really interesting. So stay tuned, register today, and we
So
look
the
forward.
people doing the work engineers don't want to do, I do not subscribe to that at all. No, 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 no. No, they are their jobs are more there's different campuses that help support startups and help you get your business through the process. So they are ones that would actually be kind of guiding you through how to grow your business. They're more on that side than the folks who are doing the technical presentations. They are like dev advocates, and work or technical curriculum developers. They're the ones that they're the people that actually teach this the tools from Google's teams, and then the hosts are they are part of the different Google startup campuses. That there's like there's a few around the world that they do. So these are the people you would talk to if you're trying to get your startup off the ground. So definitely um not light work at all.
Forward to seeing you in the next class.
indeed, it's end of May. The link is there. Remember the capital letters SSQ2. And we're going to have
I
a
just filled my
shorter
whole
startup
info
school
out.
this
Hold
time.
on.
It's going to be 4 weeks most probably, with laser focus on the particular application. But the program itself should be similar and it should be better. We are learning from you, and we're also following your feedback. Before we jump to the feedback, actually, I just wanted to once again, you know the slides very well, and I also saw a couple of questions already in the Q&A panel. The credits are there for you. You've completed the startup school. You've been with us for the 12 sessions for full 6 weeks. You've seen a lot of different applications of Gen AI, a lot of different APIs, products, and solutions. Now it's time for you to build and to incorporate Gen AI in your work, in your product. It's easier when you don't have to pay for it because you have credits. If you're a startup, you can apply for credits in Google for Startups Cloud program. It's called Program. You can get credits and even much more than credits. If you're a bootstrap, if you're funded, if you're AI, if you're Web3, there are different offers. Everything under this QR code or under this link, Google/Cloud to Dash program, all the eligibility rules, all the requirements, and as well the application form. It shouldn't take more than 3-5 business days for the application form to process, so you can start almost right away.
I think it's actually even less than that now. I think it's
Yeah,
about 48 hours. So even less time to wait once you've put in your application.
absolutely. But it's a feedback time, right?
It
Um,
is. It's our favorite time. We ask you every single class, and that's because we really do care. We read every single one of your submissions, everything you tell us, and this is a slightly expanded form that we're sharing with you today because we want to understand not only what you thought about our brilliant speakers and classes this week, but what you thought about the program as a whole. What classes did you love? What do you
So yeah, Louisa is she manages the early stage startup program. And then all the other presenters are like they do content development or they do like their developer relations. That's pretty much what their whole jobs are is to teach. I think Zach was my favorite. Zach, and I didn't see all these presenters because they had different presenters on different time zones. Deb, I think Deb, I remember hers. Um, those two, their presentations were really, really good. Um, everybody was good, honestly, but they were like my favorite ones. Those stood out, and I think I remember Tristan's too. So yes, these are definitely. I'm signing up for the next one, like without a
want to
doubt.
learn
It
more
was so
about?
good.
As I said earlier, we're still building, we're still finalizing exactly what
They make things more efficient and optimal. Yeah, this is not. Yes, yes. I don't subscribe to lesser or greater jobs because engineers are really terrible at managing certain type of aspects. Like you can't be super technical and in the weeds and also like keep everything together. So there's value in all of the roles. Um, but that being said, they're not on a product. They are supporting the startups that are trying to build products. So they're more on the business side. Um, Making sure that we can actually spend money on Google Cloud Platform. Honestly, that's pretty
our
much what
next
they're doing.
edition is
They're
going to
helping
look like.
startups
So the
scale,
more you tell
build and
us,
scale.
the more that we can incorporate that into the curriculum. So please do scan the QR code, visit that link there. We will
Your value
also
is not
share it with
determined
you
by
in
your
our Monday
salary. You
recap
in the wrong
email.
chat for
It will
that.
also be in the Q&A section. You can't escape it. Please do share your feedback with us. It really, really means a lot to us, and we really do
And they
read
still
every
probably
single
make.
submission. And that's
scroll
it
remember
from
I
our
about
mean,
the
even if we
second
was going off
page, second
salary,
page
Mm.
about the
I
program
wouldn't even
in
because it's
full.
not even that
We
deep.
will
But
really
yeah,
appreciate
I'm sure they make bank actually
this is, let's
more
say,
than a
a
lot of
digital
engineers.
currency, a feedback that we get from you, and we can learn how to make it better for you. Um, that's all from the all the housekeeping and all the announcements that we had. But we are happy that we can announce that there will be another edition. That's for sure. With that, I will invite Debbie back. We saw a lot of questions as usual, and we would love to cover a couple of them. I will start with the remark that I made already on
He
the other.
says the objective way of saying not trying to cyber is no hard feelings or anything, but some stuff I don't play about. So first and foremost, everybody's job is valuable, and also a human being's value is not based on how much money they make. That's a slippery slope. I mean, in so many different ways. Also, I think if I remember, you're not in the U.S., right? That's a I yeah. So I don't play around with that kind of stuff because that's those are really toxic mindsets, and it makes it really hard to be in the industry and to be a working professional in so many different ways. So that's just me on that regard. And also they make really good money. They probably make more money than most engineers, but that's also beside the point. um and if you are a technical person and you don't value the non-technical people on your team, you're going to have a hard time because um it's a collaboration at the end of the day. Otherwise, engineers would run the world, right? But they don't. It's everybody has value. Everybody has different skills and traits that's important for a business to run. So, uh, yeah. We not so I don't want to go. I don't want to be like trying to have a debate or anything like that. But as far as me on this platform, what we talk about here in our chats is like we don't do that over here. That's all I can say. So, um, I hope you can understand that respectfully. But I because I am I don't do that. I
Your
don't do that.
class that
This
there
is
is,
this
I
is my
think, no
space to
better time
speak
to
my
be a
piece and
developer
keep
these
everything
right
on
now. Um,
as
you have a
common
lot of
terms
help
as I
these
can.
days. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you had your huge books and you were learning C++. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. Right now, you have a tremendous help from artificial intelligence, like Duet
I want to hear
AI.
this
You don't
question.
get
Hold
it.
on.
Cover a couple of digital currency
Okay.
feedback that we get from you, and we can learn how to make it better for you. Um, that's all from the all the housekeeping and all the announcements that we had. But we're happy that we can announce that there will be another edition. That's for sure. With that, I will invite Debbie back. We saw a lot of questions as usual, and we would love to cover a couple of them. I will start with the remark that I made already on the other class that there is, I think, no better time to be a developer these right now. You have a lot of help these days. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you had your huge books and you were learning C++. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. Right now, you have a tremendous help from artificial intelligence, like Duet AI or like Cody and other things that can help you. But it's not always so great because someone, Roger, is asking the following. Roger found that public Gemini chat gives better responses than Duet AI on questions related to Google Cloud. Gemini presents a more comprehensive and a historical perspective. If a mistake is pointed out, Gemini is able to correct
Yeah,
itself,
but Duet
whereas
probably
Duet
isn't
AI repeats
fully
the
on
same response
Gemini.
almost in a loop. And the question to you, Debbie, is like, why is this the case? And will there be a newer and better version of Duet AI? I think it's a good question. There are differences that are visible by the users. So what's the case with the Gemini chat and Duet AI? Why they differ? What should we use? Will there be a new, better version?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. And to agree with your statement, yes, being a developer nowadays, personally, I feel I'm on the younger side there, so I can't relate to the textbooks of the old days, but it is extremely helpful. Even if I've been here at Google for over 4 years and I'm still learning so much, or new services come out all the time, and I can't tell you how helpful it is to be able to go in there and ask Duet. It's also kind of funny because we're not used to it. I'm still finding myself leaving and going to Stack Overflow or Google and then saying, oh, my colleague told me the other day, oh, why don't you ask Duet? Oh, yeah, I completely forgot that I can do that. So it really is, a really cool time to be here and to be experiencing all of this. And Roger, in regards to your question, yes, you're absolutely right. The Gemini does present more extensive, comprehensive and answers. And that is because the products like Bard, for example, that is running on Gemini, right? That Gemini model. And Duet for developers is still running on the Palm 2 model internally, right? So this is something that will change, right? There
Cyber, you're talking about a completely different role than what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. They're not startup program managers. They manage a Google for Startups program. Like, that's not the same thing. It's fine. I mean, you don't have to push your you don't have to push your opinion. I get what you're saying, but I don't agree with that. And you'll have I do wish you luck in going into a work environment with that mentality because um it's collaboration at the end of the day, you know. And I'm a technical person, but at the end of the day, like it's some shit I just am not good at or will take me a long time compared to someone else being able to do it. That doesn't make it more or less valuable. There's CEOs that make more money than the engineers who actually build the product, and the CEOs don't even know. Like they couldn't even bring that product to market without the engineers that they employ. But they make more money. That doesn't make them more valuable because sometimes CEOs can be swapped out and engineers. People will fight to keep them in place. You know what I mean? It just depends. Um, but it's a system. It's a system. It's a team. If you don't recognize the value of a team, it becomes very evident to the rest of the people working on that team. But they're not program managers for a startup. That's not what I'm talking about. They for Google, which is not a startup, they manage the program that helps other startups scale to millions and billions of dollars. They are the ones that actually like help you figure out how to do that. So, um yes. Their roles are are much more high level than what a program manager would do in a startup. But still, in my experience when I worked on software teams, yeah, product manager, program managers, they're up there in salary as well with like the engineering team lead because they are the customer side of delivering your product. So the last big software team I worked on, we had product managers and engineering managers. So each and we had product engineers. So we were R&D. So pretty much everything we was doing was from the ground up. Um, so our product manager was responsible, like that was the product owner. That's the person who's really responsible for understanding what the customer needs, and how we are bringing, like what kind of solutions we're going to bring to the market, and then like the strategy about how we might implement it, and then of course they work in conjunction with the engineering manager to make sure that we can actually build all the features and things like that. But really realistically, the product manager was typically acting at a slightly um higher level of I guess platform expertise than the engineering manager. The engineering manager, pretty much should be able to lean on the product manager to say, "Hey, what is it that we need to build?" Then the engineering manager can like kind of figure out how do we do that and divvy that work down to um the team members. And then the program managers, our program managers, again, if it's like a very small startup and you only have 2 3 people, no, you're not going to have any of those positions. All you're going to have is like a CEO and a CTO probably. But in that case, usually then somebody might be more business focused. Somebody has to be customer focused. um but our program managers in that type of instance, those were the folks who went out and worked. They were one on one working with like our $1 billion partners to say, hey, um, how, like, what are the different types of iterations we're going through in our platform as a whole? Basically, what's our product roadmap, and tying our product roadmap in with what our big clients are need from us, as far as the services. So they were even more higher level with like what their work entailed. So the program managers would have been in line with above the engineering directors who directed each office. So it just depends on the project is structured. But like yeah, it's a lot. And then program management, products management, and what's the other one? Project management. All those are have different definitions depending on the company and stuff like that. But that's so when I worked at very small startups, we didn't have those roles, but somebody still has to take on that role. And those roles. If someone isn't doing that, then you don't have a product. If you don't have like understand what your customer is doing, you don't even have a product. So it's very interesting just how it all fits together. You have the mentality that it's harder to replace an engineer than to replace a product manager, but that could just be ego. Yeah, that's not necessarily true. It's independent. It's independent of the person. Um, Realistically, if I'm being honest, and again, I'm tech right here with you. Uh, I would say we're easier. Engineers are easier to replace. We're the furthest down the line than maybe a product manager. And I'll tell you why. Because an individual engineer, first of all, you shouldn't have context that you can't leave the company and the code base can't survive. So if you do, then that's a bad coding workflow. That's a bad like system setup in general, right? Because we have version control, like we should be documenting things that we're doing and things that we're building, and we have a team of engineers. So no one person should have all the context on one thing. Compared to a product manager, it's one per and in our experience, right? The product manager is one per team. So once the product manager is gone, anything that was in their head that wasn't already documented, as far as this is all the conversations I've had with the customer thus far, right? Our $1 billion customer. This is all the conversations I've had with this particular customer or with this particular business unit. And these are this is the situation, this is what we agreed upon, this is what they need. Like they're the ones fleshing all that out and figuring out what's the most optimum thing for us to go and build, and they're the ones keeping track of it and making sure everything stays on time. So if they just like decide like just up and leave one day, it's really hard to replace that. Because even with the whole idea of documentation and everything, it's like replacing your engineering manager versus replacing your engineer, where the engineering manager, of course, they have some other context and things like that that is essential. They hold an essential role. So yeah, if you do have product managers, like I leaned heavily on my product managers, and a lot of product managers, a lot of really good product managers are actually technical. Um, but they might like more so being in a fit in the realm of they might prefer to be in the realm of like owning the products, being a product owner and deciding, how our products should work more so than being in the weeds and actually coding it. So I thought about doing product management at one point, but I just didn't think it was the path for me necessarily. But I think I could be a good product manager too. But I use my product management skills in working with startups. So it's very interesting because it's a very unique skill set compared to engineering. Like I used to be the engineer on my team that always went with our engineering manager and our product manager to like talk to our client and figure out, because we were building a developer platform. So I mean, our customer, our end user was developers, but I was the person that was like, let me go here one on one. Let me have this one on one conversation. Let me see exactly what it is that they're experiencing, because that's like I be in startup mode. Like we got to figure out what we're building, what their problem is. So I was always that engineer that was like going out and doing those things, but that also gave me a higher level of visibility into what the company was doing, and it helped me further. It did help me further my career a lot more. Getting involved in the products. But a lot of engineers don't like to get involved in that side of it, and that's fine. But if you work in the startup world, there's so much value to being a part of the bigger discussion. Um, yeah, I think it's really interesting. Always keep an open mind because some times things in the inside ain't how they seem on the outside. Especially managers that have technical abilities. Yeah, when I was working at my last big company, our like when I tell you our whole organization was engineers, like we had a big engineer, like a big segment of our customer. I mean, not customers, a big segment of our employees was engineers in general, right? Like product engineers. And then we had technical support engineers, which still had to be engineers. Like it wasn't like call center. But then a lot of our program management, a lot of our directors, business development and all that kind of stuff, a lot of them actually had engineering backgrounds. The Pretty much all the executive staff were engineers as well. So it was a very interesting dynamic. It was great though. It was like fantastic. Um so you had a lot of people that were like in those like program facing roles where they understand, oh, here is, they've been engineers in the automotive industry, so they understood like, okay, here's the challenges that we're trying to build for, here's the goals that we have. Here's They understood like, the architecture of how things could work and things like that. So it was very interesting. I had a good time in that environment for sure. Experiencing uni with people who did business certs was not positive. That's why I had this negative bias. Yeah, people got to get out there and have real jobs. We actually a bit harder to replace because they have the experience and tool set. Oh, they're actually, yeah, to help both sides of the companies. Yeah, they bridge the gap. Um, I don't know. It's a good healthy conversation to have. Honestly, product manager aren't necessarily business people. Yep, it's a hybrid. Yeah. So so when you have a really really highly technical product, the product managers they really have to like have some, they got to have some chops one way or another, even if they never did coding directly or anything like that. They got to have some chops. We were building a cloud like vehicle connectivity platform, so you have to be able to sell that, like you sell to or you interface with, um other technical folks, like your customers are technical. So it's very interesting. I thought about it, y'all, for a second. I thought about it. But yeah, I mean, there's use. I don't want to say useless, but there's people who don't provide any type of um they don't provide anything special besides just kind of, being a cog in a wheel, whether that's intentional or unintentional. But that's definitely across all categories too. But having a business cert and actually holding a role is two different things. Just like degrees, like a lot of computer science grads, the reason why boot camps can function and actually be successful is because computer science programs were not graduating functional software engineers. They were graduating people that knew theory and foundations but didn't actually know how to put it into practice. So university in general is always like, okay, that's cool, you got the theory, but like, let me see how you use it. Let me see how you use it. It's good ones and bad ones. Heck yeah. Engineering field is essentially a design field. Yep. Computer science isn't software engineering directly. Yep. But before recent years, what degree would you get if you were going to be a software engineer, right? So that's so funny. Now they're trying to catch up and stuff, but the amount of time it takes in What time is it? Okay, 1:52. The amount of time it takes in dang, what was I about to say? I don't know. But yeah. Oh, I was gonna say the amount of time it takes universities to respond to like industry and the market and things like that is way longer. The amount of time it takes you, even if I think about the fact that I've actually seen what the ABET accreditation process looks like, right? Like, say you decide you want to offer a new degree program, you don't just like you can't just like start offering stuff. You have to get your programs accredited, and it's like you have certifications and processes that you have to go through and stuff like that, like as universities. So I'll give them that. But yeah, a lot of folks that are in the university, being very totally honest, especially researchers, like people who are at research universities, especially. This is not exclusive, but just like in general, a lot of university like professors and stuff like that, they don't have a lot of them don't have tremendous industry experience. Some of them may have never even went to industry, because if they went straight through their studies and they went to a PhD and got into research, like a lot of them might not have industry experience at all, and that's another gap basically. There's more people teaching now that have experience, but that's another big gap. So you'll have people that's like, okay, I'm a computer science professor, I might be brilliant at data structures and algorithms and like optimizing databases or whatever, like, but I never worked in the industry, so I don't I don't know how to use version control because I never had to learn that. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Um, so it's interesting, but that's also why I'm going back to school to get my PhD, so have um I can have opinions. I have opinions, but I want to provide solutions for those types of problems. Um, Pipeline problems, diversity problems, um, curriculum design, all that kind of stuff. Math professor is like 75 years old. Look, a lot of uni professors are unionized, so they are not easily replaced by newer professors. I don't know how true that is here. You can be tenured definitely, but I'm not sure it's a problem of replacing more so than it is people choose at least. And I'm talking based on like how we do this here in America, from as well, because I know like not everybody's here, but when you go to college, like in our, I would say in our culture, when we go to college, you either a lot of people are like, either I'm going to go academic route or I'm going to go industry. So, and people are motivated by different things. So it's not, I would say I never I never pictured it as an issue where people with industry experience are being blocked out. I've always get the impression is I've always been given, being in our setting, is like people who want to be in industry want to be in industry. They don't want to be teaching all day and doing the same classes over and over again. They're not necessarily interested in research. They want to be out building. So it's more so, it's kind of hard to convince somebody to come out of industry and then come teach. I mean, unless they do like something part time. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Math is a field that, being 80, they still making discoveries. Yeah. The program was outdated. Yeah, you that's so standard with I have bias towards this. That's pretty common with universities, the programs not being up to date and stuff like that. But that's what I was saying. I'm like, I wouldn't put it all on the universities. Like, I have opinions about it. I have strong opinions. I will get on the soapbox about universities in a second. Um, but at the same time, yeah, realistically, it's kind of like working for a startup versus working for a corporation. You work for a startup, you're like, hey y'all, we should use Python. Oh no, here is an example. At my last company, somebody said, hey, we're all writing Java. We should write Kotlin instead because it's interchangeable, interoperable with our code, and we can make it more efficient. And those kind of like, okay. As long as our microservices deploy, as long as we get like the proper tooling set up for it, to make sure, our code base is as secure as everybody else's, we can pretty much do that. Versus if you work at 40, like, hey y'all, we want to start writing Kotlin in our code. Like, it's the bureaucracy is like, the turnaround time on that is like never, or like years from now probably. um so yeah, I feel I'm like, I'm very interested in how in the universities there can be such a big gap in like keeping the content relevant. um and computer science, that suffered like tremendously. Mathematica and Maple, yeah, but that's because you're that's because that's what they use. That's what they use. I learned MATLAB but I was an engineering student. I learned MATLAB. Um, oh my God. It kills the purpose of graduating if it doesn't prepare me for the job market. It depends on, that's very funny. Okay, so it really depends because nowadays we go to college to get a job, but that's not what universities started as. So that's very interesting to me in general. Um, when did we start deciding that the university was how you get a job? Because in its like primal form, university was just for like epic study. Like that was research is really what universities were designed for. Um, historically speaking, I'm still trying to figure out the point at which it started being like, go to, because I'm in that generation, right, where they were like, go to college, you're going to get a job that way. And it was like, all I got was debt that my job can't pay for. Like, it's funny, but it's not. It's only funny because it's real. Um, so now we can't really rely on the university. I mean, I did the same thing. I literally left my engineering program and went in and took a boot camp because it was like, what are y'all even doing? And it wasn't that my university was bad, but I realized there was a better, faster way to do it without all the freaking. And I was more so dealing with like systemic type issues, like my financial aid and blah 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 blah. Right. So, um, but yeah, it's very different. Cause I'm like, then I'm trying to figure out when the generational shift was. Cause even with my aunts and uncles that are like a generation ahead of my mom, that they came from like the skilled trades generation. And then some of them on the tail end of that transitioning into my mom's generation are like, okay, you go to college and you get a degree and then you get a job. And then millennials was like, we changed our mind actually. We make no further promises. We no longer we no longer support any of the claims that you have heard in the past about what you should be getting out of this process. Just I don't know what to tell you. Did a lot of Wolfram Alpha and C++ stuff for GNU, Octave, and Scilab. Maple and MATLAB for me. Python wasn't that popular back then. Historically, and even now, it isn't the primer for career. Yeah. Um, I'm just trying to figure out when in the process did who start like who's they be like who said that, like who I'm trying to pinpoint the point in history that they start selling us this college college diploma, college degree equals job, because that's never really what university was for. Being an academic was like literally like epic study. Like I just want to I want to research and specialize in this one particular area. So then you have your what you are learning is theory and stuff like that, and you're learning from people who may have never even been in the industry, and they're the ones developing curriculum. So it's like you can't really fault them for teaching you MATLAB. Like that's what they use. But it's got to be better if y'all want to keep telling people that's how they supposed to get their job. Like I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. Um, college degree has been a differentiating factor between middle class and low class since about the 60s or so. Sounds about right. Yep. That tracks. But it's just did like who decided that though? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like was it the universities trying to like get more people in, or was it like, we notice a trend here, so now we gonna start trying to get degrees to up our I just I'm gonna have to do some research on that. I'm gonna have to do some research on that. I'm more interested in cybersecurity in general. It's going to be extremely popular with how technology. Yeah, cybersecurity. I mean, I would say cybersecurity is just like software. You know what I mean? Like people tend to associate software engineering with like a like tech field, but it's like it's not just tech. Software is literally everything that we use and do. My phone needs software. I want to use apps. I have a computer. You know what I mean? Like all the devices that we interact with now. I want to do my taxes on whatever. Like software is just across industries in general. It's generic. Cybersecurity, same thing. Like every company that has some type of technical component, they should have some cybersecurity methods. Um, and then, to me, those are like those are kind of big bucket categories. And then, like I would put IT specifically. When I think about IT, I think about more like networking, um, resource management, servers. If you still do servers nowadays, like IT is more, all the devices that a company might use and the networks that is attached to, more so hand like I said, resource management rather than cybersecurity, which is more so like threat management. And then software is like, software engineering is the software. I feel like those are like the big buckets. Mm-mm-mm. As long as you keep learning and just openly, you have the math and stats to understand cryptography and other stuff. Yep. Look at deep fakes and how people can completely do an ID theft. Yep. That's one aspect I really want to look into is the security behind like security with LLMs, cybersecurity and LLMs, like how those overlap. It's just very interesting. It's just like back when, with web developments, like you would have to know about people potentially like hacking your site through the databases and the different forms that you give people access to and all this other kind of stuff, right? And now it's like how can people can actually take advantage of LLMs and how they might do that and what that process looks like in ways that I didn't even think I would have never even thought about. Um, but cyber, I hope it wasn't like any offense. You know what I mean? I'm like, but I'm a black girl in tech, so I have to speak up sometimes. But it's good conversation. It's just I definitely, if all of a sudden your company decided to only pay you $1, that don't change your value. We are all valuable, and I had to learn this too, like because I was always a person that was like, I've always been technical, and I've always been the type of person that's like, okay, like making money and being able to like provide and stuff like that. That's a big deal in our society. And it's been in recent years where I've been able to detach my identity, my personal identity, like who are you, from my job title and my role. Because you get in this point where you're like, people are like, oh, who are you? And you're like, I'm a software engineer. And it's like, no, that's not who you are. That's not who you are. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm a builder. I'm a teacher. I like to innovate. Like I have certain things about me that makes me a particular human being, and that has nothing to do with what job title I hold, or if somebody is even willing to give me that job title. I had to. I've been having those. I've been having those upgrades in my personal. So it's okay. It's all good. Yeah, we are here to support each other, cyber, without a doubt. And I appreciate you just like dialoguing on that, because for real, like we are here to support each other. I wanted to I like for us here to just be like encouraging, provide, like even if you disagree with somebody, okay, that's fine, but like providing some type of feedback, cuz the way my brain is set up, I'm the type of person where if you might throw an idea out there, and I might just I might just like give it sometimes comes off as debating to people, and I'm like, I'm not really trying to debate. I'm trying to figure something out too. Like I learn a lot or figure things out. My thought process is like talking through it. So you could say something, I could say something, and then we could disagree, but then you could convince me. I a lot of times I'm like, I'll be asking questions just so I could find out more. So I always encourage us to be able to have conversations and open each other's minds, um, and open up each other's possibilities. Because if y'all tell me something ain't gonna work, I'm appreciate that, but tell me why. Because that's just the type of person I am. Because I don't like beating my head over a lesson that I could have learned from somebody else. I don't. Now some people, they like to learn stuff the hard way. I let them be. I got a lot of them in my life. I let them be. Aggressive nowadays. Oh my God. It's so terrible. Like, WTF. I gotta go in like 5 minutes, y'all. I gotta talk to this lady for GCP. But what the heck? And then my email is so flooded with like, oh my God. My email is flooded with, it's not like my main emails, but like the junk email is flooded with like the most incoherent the the most incoherent babble. Like, w- just why? Help, please. I'm like, this spam is so bad. And then you get phone calls. Now you get phone calls. I've genuinely, I seen where somebody was, they had recorded the voice of probably someone's real phone call, and then they was using that to spam call. I'm like, oh my God, this is, and I think I heard it on my voicemail. And I could hear, after like listening to it over and over again, I could hear where the recording was dubbed over at a particular spot in order to like slightly customize what they were saying, but it still didn't make sense. You got the incoherent babble in your email. You got random spam calling. And then you got people being like, oh, you know what? People using Chat GPT, let me post and publish some fake packages that Chat GPT might completely just make up, and then people just gonna randomly download that into they into they apps. Almost got fooled by a PayPal mail. So then you got the Facebook scams. Yeah, you got like the Facebook scams, email. They really out here like, it's at an all time high. If you want to be surprised, look at your security account activity. You literally have people try to log in to your account daily. I've never looked at it. Well, I'm not gonna say I never looked at it, but I have to have two-factor auth on a lot of stuff. So I usually get notifications, but I'm not sure if I've ever looked in the spot where I could. It might be somewhere that I'm not looking, and that does not surprise me at all. To be like, yeah, people are literally constantly trying to sign in as you. See, cyber, you know. We got you on the team. You could just focus in that area. Keep us safe from the freaking, what's the word I want to use? The vultures. They want our data as if we not giving our data up enough. Let me see. What is this? Oh gosh. My favorite kind of spam is when somebody sends me like a very well formed email saying something that don't got nothing to do with nothing. They'll be like, "Hey, we heard about Beauty Go Go, and we can help your services. Do you need more like rug cleaning clients?" And it's like, what? Like, you was going somewhere with that, and then you just threw something that don't got nothing to do with what we doing, and it's like, okay. Let me see. Oh, I guess I could pull it from here. I'm gonna have to go, y'all. I got this meeting in like a few minutes, like 2 minutes, 1 minute. But it has been wonderful conversation. Where are my Streamlabs? Two-factor strong password is key. All of the above. Thumbprints, UB keys, everything, y'all. Everything you could do to secure your account. Oh man. But yeah, okay. Let me go. Let me go, y'all. Let me go. I'm going. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Exclamation mark Discord. We got our Discord, and uh I feel awkward. There's no music. Outro.